All right, you ready?
No.
Where's my notes?
Where's your what? Oh boy. Check one,
I might
two.
not need them. Okay.
Check.
All right, shut the fuck up so I can do my thing. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Foil Hats Optional. Today I got another special guest. As usual, all my guests are special. I got my good friend Dave Williams, who was nice enough to come over here, even though he was really fighting me on it. He really didn't want to come over, but I finally talked him into it after I got him kind of drunk, and so now he's here. So hey, welcome, Dave. Thanks for coming on, buddy. I appreciate you coming over.
Absolutely my pleasure.
So I'm going to get right into the questioning here. What I would like to know first is, how was your day, David?
My day was fantastic. I didn't have to work today. So that therefore, great day.
That is great. It's very good to hear that you had a nice day like that. Would you like me to talk like that the whole time? Would you
No,
feel more comfortable if I was just like really stiff and lame?
no, I'd like you to. Yeah.
Um, what was I going to ask you first? Ah, crap. I can't remember. I got to think about this now.
Don't
Something
talk
we're,
about my lazy left eye.
no, I wasn't going
Okay.
to talk about that. It was something about like I think that we were talking about on Saturday. What I was going to ask you about. I forgot about that now. Because now that I'm on camera, seeing this is
See,
easy because I can edit this part out. I'll just chop it
exactly.
right out. Nobody will ever know.
Well, I told you we touched on too many subjects on Friday, so
Yeah, but didn't elaborate on them. So I was kind of hoping that we'd still have plenty to talk about. Um, you know what? That's what it was. Okay. So kind of on a personal level, I wanted to ask you this. Why is it that there was this such a long span of years where we didn't hang out? And we've known each other for a long time, but it was like a while, man. I was working at gyms. We didn't hang out at all. And I'm like, why didn't we ever hang out? Because I like hanging out. We hang out all the time now. What was up with that? Why were you mad at me?
oops, hit my microphone.
Here we go.
That's a great question. I don't know because I do remember that, like, if I had a call, did it again.
You really suck at that microphone thing.
I
That's all
really
right, though.
do.
Don't worry about it.
I do recall when you worked at gyms, and yeah, it seemed like months and months would go by. And then all of a sudden, I had a job, and I'd call you in, and all of a sudden you'd pop in. I'm like, "Hey, Andy, how you been? Blah blah blah. Hey, we haven't done nothing. What's going on?"
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I feel like
That's a
there's so
great
many.
question.
I feel like we lost a lot of years of good times in there because we didn't hang out.
I guess to a lesser extent, we still kind of do that today. We kind of go maybe a month or so, or maybe even sometimes longer, and just go, "Hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's going
Hmm.
on?" And then we'll be like, "Oh, we'll go out where we'll see each other for a couple times a week or something for a
Yeah.
month or straight." And then it seems like, and then all of a sudden it's like, don't do nothing. And then all of a sudden it's like, "Yeah, hey, let me give you a call and say, hey, asshole, where you been? We
Yeah.
haven't talked. We break up or what?" So yeah, that's strange. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And as I get older now, I find I don't want to do as much stuff anymore.
No, I hear you. I feel the same way. I'm good with that too. But
You know?
when I do hang out with my friends, I always have a good time.
Hmm.
But I'm always good just hanging out at home too. That don't bother me, man.
Yeah.
But
No, but you're right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that is. It's
yeah.
strange.
Well, it is what it is now. Can't go back and change it, right?
Yeah.
Past is the past. But we used to
Yeah.
hang out a lot, obviously, the softball days.
Softball
I
really,
mean,
yeah.
there's a lot, man. Softball was, I mean, that was, I don't know how many years did we play together out there? It had to be, I don't know, 20,
At
right?
least. At least. Because yeah, I was out there from when they first started in '87, and boy, I retired when the boys were 18, so that would have been about 2007 or something like that from softball. So
Yeah.
and you guys were probably in the early '90s, so easily 20 years.
I started playing out there, John. had me play with them when I was 18. And
Yeah.
we had just bought the house out in Sturtevant, or we were living out there anyways. I don't know if we had bought the house yet or not, but we were out there. And I just subbed from him. Then I ended up being on the team.
Yeah.
And then it was like 2 years later, I ended up taking over the team. And
Right.
then it was mine till, until I let my brother run it. You like how I slid
Yeah.
that in there? Like I let him run it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's coming over too. So hopefully he watches this first. So he'll be all pissed off by the
Yeah.
time he gets here. Oh,
I
dare that
forgot,
fucker.
yeah, that he let Brian kind of
He ran it a
there
couple
for a
years.
while. That's
yeah.
right.
And I don't know if he ran it at the end. He might have been. But see, when I quit playing, man, I was fairly young. I might have been, well, Cody was playing at that time, and Cody, I think, was either 19 or 20. So that means,
Yeah.
well, it's about 20 years for me.
Yeah.
And then I was out.
Right, because
Yep.
Cody and Jake and Justin, they all played. We were 18, and that's
Yep.
when I retired. So that's in my mid 40s.
Kavasic's kid was playing for us. I remember those days because those kids were so young and they were so
Yeah.
fast.
I kind of regret, right? I kind of regret not playing a couple more years after that. But all the other guys, the older guys, like, let's hang it up. And we were at that time, me and Fritz and Bud were into Kankakee, and we're like, why don't we just Kankakee full time instead of
Easier.
softball? So
Which is also fun.
that's what we
And
ended
we
up
should
doing.
talk about
So,
that a little
yeah,
bit too.
Yeah.
After get through the softball stuff. Somebody, I think it was maybe Ed. He was over, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and we were talking about the softball days as we usually do.
Yeah.
Got to reminisce. That's what old guys do because you don't do anything worth
Exactly.
shit now. So let's talk about the days when we actually did something good.
Yeah.
We were talking about the dude, and I'm not going to shit on this guy too much because he's dead now. So I'm going to try to be.
I think I know where you're going.
I'm gonna be honest about it, but I'm not going to shit on him real bad. But he's that catcher for Roner, and it was a JT Customs he played for too.
Right.
You remember his name?
It was Scott, but I don't remember his last name.
Because we were talking about him because you know how he was, man, behind the dish.
Yeah.
That dude was insufferable.
Yeah.
He was just so bad. He was like he was on your shit constantly.
I don't remember his last name. Matter of fact, I think I was talking about him with Beavers one time, and I'm like, he couldn't remember either because I brought it up to him too because we were talking about it one day, and he couldn't remember either. But yeah, we had some classic matches with those fellas, the Roners, and yikes.
Yeah, our nemesis was always R&R, or no, well, maybe nemesis isn't the right word, but
yeah,
every time we played those dudes, it was like almost coming to blows. We just did not get along.
Yeah, ours was Roners for sure.
Yeah, and it's it's all good. It's all good now. And we never did get in a fight.
We had a couple classics with Pudgies back in the day too. That was one of our first nemesis back in the 80s. We had a couple bench clearing brawls.
Did you really? That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
We almost got in a fight with, it was the R&R guys again at one of the tournaments. I think was at, it was probably one of the years when you and I, well, it had to have been when we were running the league together.
Yeah.
And we were running the tournament. And of course,
so we were out at Shane Raleigh's.
We were. Yep. We were. And of course, they were whining about something towards the end of the tournament. And I can't remember. One of them said something to me and I told him to go fuck his mother or something like that. One of my classic, like, let's see if I can, as vulgar as I can get. I remember, I think Jenny was almost going to sock one of those guys. She got involved because, she ain't going to sit around and listen to people talk shit either. And we almost got into it. And I'm like, these guys, man, every time.
That was Ricky's team, right?
I think it was not Ricky's team. I think it was the R&R 2. I think
after, because Ricky's
team was, we
would be at odds.
Yes. It was the 2. It was the one that Ricky didn't play on. They were worse. Those dudes were terrible. They were, and you know who I think, Scott Pollock, he still plays. I guarantee you he does. I just saw him. I should have asked him. I saw him at the beer garden. I know he was playing at least last year. That dude still plays ball because Brian Ditloff played with him. They were Sean Roberts. But towards the end, right when I quit, they were R&R then. So they play for R&R. I think I don't know if they're the only team out there, but they had jumped ship and went out to R&R, I think, because Sean Roberts was a landscaping company.
Right.
I don't know why they started playing for an R&R, but I really did.
Yeah, interesting.
I think that dude, I know Brian was still playing. Those guys still might play. Well, shit, Floyd still plays ball. Floyd and Johnny Bain.
But Sturtevant doesn't have a league.
No.
No, it's just there's no tournament league
Yeah,
anymore.
it's not. And
It's just everybody plays city now.
you know where they're playing, of course. They're playing out by Jerry, out by Ricky's place at 11 and 75.
Oh, right.
That's where everybody plays now.
Yes, of course. Jerry's running that out there.
Of course he is.
He is.
Yeah. You know Jerry. Jerry's always into all that stuff. Yeah, Jerry's running all the leagues out
I
there.
forgot about 1175. I forgot that they got ball diamonds out there.
Yep. Yeah, I run into Jerry quite often, actually.
He stopped in the Rhino Bar where we were
Oh, yeah,
Key.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And somewhere else we saw him twice, like within a week that over the winter.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I see him a lot around town.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything running that league? Get any lessons, life lessons running the league?
Gosh. I didn't do much but just handle the money and pay the umpires. So you pretty much handled everything else.
Scheduling. I mean, what did we have to do? We had to do scheduling and
Yeah.
take the money and the umpires. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it.
No. Make sure the village,
That
went
was-
set in the
Were you
stupid
there?
meetings.
Yeah,
and
were you there for that? You know
a
what?
couple of meetings at the village I was at.
That first time, and I did learn something, and this is, well, I guess I learned a couple things. That was my first exposure to like government and town meetings. And I remember walking away from that thinking to myself, this isn't how this is supposed to work. Because we go to the meeting, right? So like, because when we took the league over, weren't we playing somewhere else or not even playing Sturdivant? Or we wanted to bring it back to Sturdivant or something like that?
No, I think we were still
'Cause
playing. 'Cause
Danny
we were
was
playing
there.
the Firemen's yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had to go to the board meeting. And
We
it
had to-
basically, I felt like I had to go in there and kiss their asses because I wanted to give them money, is how I felt about it. I'm like, why am I in here trying to pitch this to you guys? You should be pitching it to me. You should be wanting our league to play on your diamonds because we're going to spend money in your community
Yeah.
and we're going to give you money to play on these diamonds.
I remember
it
going
seemed
to
the
that
opposite.
meeting the first year after Danny stopped. I remember we were going, but that's about all I remember, honestly. I just remember going there.
That left a
But
bad
yeah,
taste
I
in my mouth.
remember we were talking about it, what a shit show it was and everything.
Yeah, it's like,
But
it's like it just felt
Yeah.
like it was backwards. I feel like I'm in like Bizarro World, like in
Yeah.
Seinfeld or something.
yeah,
Like, I'm not going to kiss your ass to play softball here. There's a
yeah,
lot of
because
other places that will take my
we were
money.
giving them money. It's not like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that asshole that worked for the village that would never get the diamonds ready for us, and he
Right.
would flat out tell you to your face, "I don't give a shit about you guys, dude. We pay our money like everybody else does. Like that's what your job
come
is.
on
Do
over
your
and
job."
turn on the lights. It's dark out
Right.
here.
How many times were we playing out there and the lights would just
Yep.
go off? That was,
Yeah,
sometimes that stuff is a joke, man.
Yeah,
Like it ain't that hard. Like why couldn't you just give somebody a key
exactly.
to turn the fucking lights on?
Exactly.
No,
Why
we got to
couldn't-
do a timer,
Yep.
and then it shuts off at 7:30 in the middle
Ooh,
of a
well,
game or whatever.
I think we all know how to work a timer, for Christ's sake.
I know it's like whatever.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous. You're right.
You know what I learned? What I really learned running that league though, is that nobody wants to take charge and be in charge of anything, and everybody loves to bitch
I was
about
just gonna
everything
say,
that you do when you're
Boy,
in
you
charge.
sure got. I remember getting calls.
Yep.
Oh, why aren't we playing stuff like that? Because we had
Constantly.
no control over that, which was another
Right.
joke.
Yep.
The village would make the call, and we'd be standing out the diamond in the sun as it's dry.
Right. 'cause
That
they
was
had their
another
shit
thing that-
screwed up because they were supposed to have a answering machine, and it was either the message was wrong or
Yeah.
it wasn't working.
Yeah,
So people would show up and like, I did it happen to me too. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I can bitch to the village.
and what's
But-
that going to get? Yeah, there was a lot of those guys like to bitch.
Yeah.
Nobody what? How long did we run that dang
It
thing?
was a while. I mean, it was got to be 5 years, maybe
Yeah,
more.
maybe more.
Before it, and then I think we got fed up and like, hey Jerry, you want to
Yeah,
run
no,
this?
yeah,
Because that's what it is too. I'm like, I just got tired. I'm like, I just want to play
that's
ball.
right. Because then we went out to.
Yeah.
Then we went up by Jerry out at
Yeah, I think we
Raleigh's
got
after
tired of
that.
Sturdivant. We're like, you know what? This is
That's right.
bullshit.
It's all coming back.
Jerry,
to
why
me
don't you
now.
run it and we'll just come out there and play because
And that was another story all in itself with Big Jer.
yeah.
But at least we didn't have to deal with the shit
Nope.
show. So
Yeah,
that's
and-
right. I forgot that we went there after that.
yeah.
yeah.
And things were smooth out there. I mean, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a problem. Even though you stepped in a little horse shit every once in a while because they were doing rodeos on the weekends out there.
Yeah.
But whatever. But yeah, I remember those meetings. We'd go into those meetings in the beginning of the year. You get all the team captains in there, and and I don't have a problem calling everybody out on this thing. So if they're watching, right at you, Scott Waggy, and you bunch of jerks. No, they're good
Scott
dudes, but I
Waggy,
like to
yeah.
make fun of them. The Scott, he was a guy that was always in the beginning of the year bitching. And you remember the guy that played with him? He played first base. I think we called him Skippy or Skip.
Skip,
He was the
because he subbed for me a couple
biggest
times.
crabby fuck there
He
was.
bitched, complained about
Oh,
everything
God.
all the time.
He did.
All the time.
Yep.
But you know what? Listen, wait, was it Skip? He ended up bartending at Fritz's on Douglas. He was a cook bartender there. He passed
Really?
away.
Oh, he did too? So now I can't shit on him either?
Yeah.
That's not fair. People got to
Dang it.
stop dying, I think.
I remember going there because we knew each other really good because he would always complain and he subbed for me a few times. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm getting real bad with names. But yeah, he worked at Fritz's because Bud's parents, we always go to Fritz's every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I remember,
Which is now Buka's.
yes.
Yep.
Buka's. Buka. Yeah.
Buka. They got good food
But
there,
yes,
by the
and
way.
he ended up passing away like a couple of years ago.
Did he? Well, that's too bad.
Bud would remember his name. I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we called him Skip. I don't know what his real name was. It was Skip or Skippy, and he played first base, and he was always bitching about something. He called me in the parking lot one night after the game, and he was doing his thing, and he was doing this to me. He's pointing a finger, and I turned around, and I just started walking towards him. I'm like, hey, look. I'm like, don't fucking talk to me that way. And he was just like, oh, totally changed his demeanor. I'm like, oh, this is how you handle it.
He really was.
Right. That's the thing.
He
like,
really was.
You just got to get him to shut the fuck up and just listen
he
for a
liked
second.
The bit, but he was a good guy. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was my biggest lesson doing that stuff. Is like everybody likes to bitch about stuff. People don't really want to run it. It's tough to be in a position to like take charge or something, but somebody's got to do it. I guess I'd rather whatever. I'm glad we got to play ball. So
we did. That's the whole thing. I did enjoy playing ball out there. We got so many stories, good funny stories of playing out there. So
yeah,
it was a blast.
I like the rules that we had. I like that we could steal. That was fun.
It was a great league. It really was.
The unlimited arc.
Yep.
It just made it more. Not like lame, like City League softball.
It was fun. Stealing was fun.
Yeah.
You'd walk, and I'd tell my guys, go take big turn and steal. Like Worcester, Timmy, my faster guy. I did it a few times. You're like, oh, they'll never. Boom, boom, boom. It was fun. It was a fun league. Except the umpires were great, but boy, they blew a lot of calls. But those guys were great.
Hey, speaking of that, did you see who's retiring? Speaking of umpires blowing
Lee
calls.
Robinson, he died.
No.
Lee passed away.
Lee, I know he did.
And
he's not retiring. I said, did you hear who's retiring?
No.
Oh.
They're all
an MLB umpire.
Oh, yeah.
I said, speaking of blowing calls,
Sorry.
did you
I was still stuck in softball mode.
Hello, Dave. Speaking of retiring, did you know who is going to retire from Major League Baseball?
There, thank you. Oh, Major League. Yeah. I read that. It was the talk of the whole day.
Yeah, Angel Hernandez. And you know what?
Terrible.
And that's, you know what? That's my view of him too. Every time I watch a game when that dude umpired, there was always a few calls where like, what is this dude doing?
Terrible.
But the baseball guy they had on TMJ today was talking about him retiring, and they keep stats on the umpires.
Yeah.
He said he's actually an average. He's an average umpire. Yeah. He wasn't as bad as it looked like every time you watched a game. I think he was just one of those personalities, kind of like Joe West, where they just gotta interject themselves into the game for whatever it's an ego thing or whatever it is. But he was always in some controversial thing. And I'm like, when I heard he's retiring, I'm like, oh, good. Now I don't have to watch him call strike 3 when it's 4 feet off the plate.
Yeah. I mean, I know what the numbers say, but yeah, he had some calls that were just brutal.
That's what I'm saying too. Like I'd watch the game.
They know that because he hadn't worked a game now in what was it, like a month or something?
Oh, yeah.
Like that, they said? No, yeah. They must have been, I don't know what age MLB was doing.
They were probably like, dude, you're done.
But
you need to retire.
Yeah.
We can't, I'm pretty sure. Had enough of you.
Yeah.
And because all those guys are all union, you can't just dump them.
Exactly.
But they probably talked to me and they're like, why don't we just give you a bunch of money? Why don't you just go away? Because you suck.
Yeah.
The Brewers just had, I think, it was the Red Sox series. Who was the guy that tossed Murph out? They got into it bad.
And the Red Sox? I don't remember
Well, it was the
getting
same
top.
umpire, but it was a few series before that. I can't remember who they were playing, but um, he tossed out Freddie Peralta because he hit
That
the
was,
guy from the Marlins. And
yeah,
look, honestly, I'm sure Freddie probably hit him on purpose.
he did, but
You know what I mean? Freddie says I didn't hit him on purpose, but it's
no
like whatever.
warning.
But
Come
like
on.
that's the thing. Like that was I thought it was uncalled for that they just toss him like that.
Yeah.
And he hit him in the thigh. I mean, you could have maybe Freddie didn't hit it on purpose. I don't know. I think he probably did because the dude was being a jackass. So
Yeah.
like, oh fine. But just to toss him like that, and then Murph's like, "Come on, man,
Yeah.
really?" And then they got into it big time.
Yeah.
I
No,
thought
that
Murph was going to
that was
lose his
later
shit.
because Uribe punched that guy in the face. In the
Yes, that was that same game.
Same game.
Yeah.
No, they
I
should
love
never.
guys that don't know how to fight when they get into fights. They look so stupid.
Well, but at least baseball usually is just a bunch of shoving.
Yeah.
He actually landed a punch.
Yeah.
So that was
It was like an
like,
open hand
whoa,
slap.
Abner.
Yeah.
But you know what? He hasn't been back in the majors since.
Well,
either.
he's got suspended, I'm sure.
Yeah, he did, but then they sent him out right away.
They
He
sent him
hasn't-
down?
Oh yeah,
Really?
he hasn't pitched since that game.
Do you think they're doing that out of punishment?
He wasn't pitching all that great before, so I'm sure they just want to give him a little more work in AAA. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, with him, like when he's
he was
on,
100 miles an hour.
oh yeah, but that dude, man, he 100 miles an hour and it moved.
Yeah.
It wasn't a four seamer; it was a two seamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he can keep it, if he's not, wild thing Ricky Vaughn.
Well, that's
you
yeah, that's what it was too. I mean, he was issuing a lot of walks, and he was just having a tough time. So he'll be back.
Yeah.
He'll be back for sure.
I wonder when Devin Williams is coming back.
They said the end of June, but
Are you surprised how well they're playing?
I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised. I think me and Devers go through this all the time. He gets so
Oh.
angry. I'm like, wouldn't you rather root for a team that's good, whether they win the World Series or not? He's like, well, it doesn't matter if they win the World Series. Yeah, but you got these exciting kids up here and they're playing exciting ball and you're watching winning baseball. That to me, because I've been following the Brewers since 1973. So I went through all the shit team in the 90s and in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I am a Brewer fan and I like watching my team and rooting for my guys. And that's the way I feel. And I'm not surprised they're doing well. I'm really not.
I personally, I kind of am a little bit. I guess I didn't really know they're very young.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to expect, and obviously their pitching is taking a real. I mean, they've lost
You
a
know-
lot of real good pitching, right? So I'm like, well, I mean, I wasn't really expecting much, but right away in the season, I'm like, man, these guys, while they're running a lot,
Yeah.
they're hitting way more than they have for quite a few years.
Last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean they're hitting well. They're putting runs up, and what are they? I think after the win last night, they got a 5-game lead. I think roughly 4.5 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not what I expected to see, but yeah, they're fun to watch, no doubt about it.
Yeah. I guess I am surprised at the pitching, I guess,
Yeah.
or lack of starting pitching and
Oh, your
how they're
boy
doing.
Gasser.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
coming in. I mean, I don't think anybody expected to see this. I mean, he's got 4 starts now, and the guy's
Right.
lights out. He's good.
so far,
right?
so far, so good. So, yeah, I mean, without Horse, because Peralta hasn't been pitching that good either, really.
Hmm.
Now we'll see tonight. I mean, his last outing, he finally went 7. How many times have we had a pitcher going to the 7th inning this year? Once.
Yeah.
Eesh.
You,
Eesh.
so are you gonna blame that on Murph too, or is because I know
Well,
you're always on council about that?
I
Like,
am
"Never
kinda
let
on-
him pitch him,
I'm
back
kind
the
of
5th
on
inning."
Murph because you know what? Same thing with when you see where he started Koenig 2 games in a row, right? Came in and pitched. He started him and he let him pitch to 2 batters and then 4 batters. Then he brought the starter in.
Oh, I see. I haven't.
Yeah, that was against
I
the
usually
Red
catch
Sox.
games
The
on the
first 2
radio a lot. So okay, so he's
Koenig
been doing
started.
that.
He pitched the first 2 guys. Then they brought what's his nuts? Well, the second time was Ray. The first time would have been Bryce Wilson.
Okay, yeah. Who he's been?
he's actually pitched pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
but he brought Bryson to go 5 1/3. Well, the next night, for instance, Ray he brought Ray in. He pitched 5 innings, took him out after 66 pitches. That's what gets me. I'm like, let him go another. He they make a big deal out of this facing the lineup for the third time, and I just don't get it. I guess the
yeah.
analytics back it up, but it that never. I don't understand that.
Yeah, they do. That is a thing. I think a lot of teams are like that too with the third time around. And it's true if you pay attention to the games a lot of times too. That third time through, like if you're watching the Brewers, like guys like Contreras, Contreras, guys like Contreras and Yelich. I mean, obviously this year they're both hitting really well. They're good hitters.
Yeah,
Just to use them for an example, that third time through, those guys are usually getting hits. I mean, because they've seen their stuff now, right? If they haven't gotten hits by the time they're seeing the third time, they kind of know what they're getting.
yeah,
And
I suppose.
or you know, you can do like Council did and bring in your guy that throws the ball really hard and straight, and let Willie Adamas, who hits like he might be batting 240 this year, but
That's pretty good for
yeah,
Willie.
right. That's what I'm saying. He bats
Yeah,
like 220, but he
yeah,
jacked that ball like 500
sure
feet
did.
last night. Man, that thing was out of there on a 3-0 pitch
Three
too.
zero. He had the
I was
green light.
I thought of my brother when that happened because we always had a thing in softball. We never swung 2-0. I'm like, well, take a walk.
Yeah,
I'm not swinging 2-0. And I know Marty was always like, that's the best pitch you're going to get. I'm swinging 2-0. And I'm like, whatever. We, as a team, generally never swung 2-0. My
right.
brother was in fact about it. He was like, he would get pissed off at you if you ever swung 2-0. And I never did because I don't mind taking a walk.
Yeah,
Like, fuck, you gonna walk me? Walk me, whatever.
I would take.
But some guys
I'll
want to
tell
hit
you who
2-0.
did.
And like, and I don't
Yeah,
really care that much. But I thought of that last night when Willie 3-0, Jax went out there. I'm like, if he's playing softball for my brother, he would have heard an earful from
listen,
him.
I did the same thing. I tell my guys 2-0. All right, you got to watch it. Just watch it go. You know who did it ever? Take a 2-0 pitch. I think he did once in his whole, and we all fell over. Jeff Fritz. He always was hacking on 2-0. He never, one time, because we're all like, oh my God, Jeff just took a walk. When you said that, because that's what I tell my guys. Take the pitch. Hey, it's a runner. Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Not Jeffrey. Oh boy.
I'm going for it, Roy.
Oh boy, he is something else. It's a hitter's game. That's what,
Yeah,
that's
but
what he
it's
said.
good to have runners on base when the guy gets a hit too.
Exactly.
That's how you score runs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't score runs by hitting lazy fly balls to left field like some guy that I won't say named Jeff Devers.
To right.
To-
Did you say right or
Wait,
left?
Was he a lefty or
No,
right?
he was right, but he always went to
He
right.
always hit opposite
He
field.
always said up.
I don't think he can. I think he even said that. He admits
Can't
it.
pull.
He can't pull.
Nope. Nope. Big guy. Fritz would tell him all the time. He'd be like, a big guy like you, 250 fucking pounds, and you can't pull the ball over the fence in left field? You pussy. He'd get on him all the time.
That's funny too. I think that was my brother's claim to fame, or his best memory, I believe, was he caught a ball that Fritz hit out because we had Brian and I have no idea why he's
Yeah.
playing right field because
Yeah.
he has no business out there.
You're
But we
right.
had him in right field, and maybe that was when he was younger, and we were probably early on and just looking for a place to
Yeah.
get him.
I don't
get him
ever
in the game or
remember
whatever.
being out there.
He was, and because I was playing right center, I was playing right next to him, and I used to berate him all the time because I'm his big brother, and
Yeah.
he'd drop a fly ball, you fucking moron.
I just remember him catching. Yeah.
Yeah, he would like laid out diving catch on a ball that Devers hit out to him to win the game too. Like, because if that ball hits the ground, we are losing the game because it was like this 6 or 7 innings.
Yeah.
7 innings.
We played 7 innings.
7 innings. So, and it was you guys had last at bats.
Yeah.
And you probably had a runner on. I'm sure Brian will. I'll bring it up.
Yeah,
He'll
yeah.
tell me the story when I see him in a couple weeks.
Play of his life.
And it was too.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can remember you came up to me and you were just like, yeah, and I give it a big hug, and just after I'd probably just ripped him apart a couple of plays before for not catching a ball
Yeah.
right or something. Like,
Oh,
yeah, that was
I
Devers.
don't remember that. That means that we went to the bar and I had to listen to you jackasses then.
Well, that goes both ways.
Yeah,
You better
well.
take it easy with that shit. We had to listen to you
Well,
too.
no, that's true.
It goes both ways. You remember what we laughed so hard about that one time when it was, well, I remember one time more than any, it was me, you, and Ed. We were talking about Iron Maiden or something, and it had something to do with Ed's do rag, or I think John Johnson labeled it the Ed hat. Somebody labeled it an Ed hat. But I think we were doing British accents and everything, and I can't remember Ed. And Ed watches these. I know he does because he texts me and
Yeah.
I'll comment on them. So hopefully Ed will remember what we were talking about and he
Yeah.
can tell me when he comes over.
Yeah. Who
But
knows?
we were dying. I just remember we were laughing so hard. We were just dying laughing.
We had a lot of good times in that bar after
Yeah.
softball.
Sure did.
Even when, I mean, JQ Foxes in general, even when we weren't softball, they sponsored me. Well, they sponsored Jenny's stuff too, but they sponsored me in basketball for years. And, they did a lot of volleyball. I didn't, but yeah, we'd go in there after basketball and play in Union Grove and play darts all night long. And we used to have a blast there.
Yeah.
That was the place. That was our bar for a long time. That was our bar.
Yeah. I'd go in there when it wasn't softball season.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps that, well, I did live out there for a while.
Yeah.
But even when we moved to St. Regis, that's where we went. I mean, you knew the bartenders and they go in there and, they take care of you. You take care of them, they take care of you.
That's right.
Yep. Now it's now it's no more softball, it's Kankakee.
Yes.
And that's something people we got to talk about that because that's a lot of people don't know what that is. I like doing it. It's fun. I think it's a blast.
Yeah, it is.
So just for the people that don't know what Kankakee is, it's Kankakee bowling. You throw it's a duck pin ball is what you do. And they line up 5 pins evenly spaced across the back of the lane. And you get to throw 3 balls instead of 2. And if you're a right-hander, you got to get the pin that's on the far left because that's your king pin. And if you're a left-hander, vice versa. You don't get the king pin, you don't score. If you get all 5 in 1, it's a strike. If you get all 5 in 2, it's a spare. And if you get all 5 in 3, it's a king, or it's just a 5 all day.
5 all day,
right?
Yeah.
And if you throw it in the gutter at any point, you're done. You get 0 points. So it's kind of a cool game.
And it's scored like bowling. I mean, you score the spares and the strikes the same way. So
what's a perfect game? Is it 150?
150.
150 is a perfect game. Think anybody's ever gotten one?
Back in the day when the lanes were true, Bud has said that there were perfect games.
Those lanes were true?
At one time, those lanes were true.
Did they have more than one? Because the Rhino and who knows? I don't know what it was called when they probably. I mean, how long has that building been there? You think?
Gosh, it's been there a long time. I mean, I remember when it was obviously College Inn, Madden's on Main, Rhino Bar, something. Too. I mean, I was at the zoo since '90. It's always been there, but they've had to be there for way over 50, 60 years because Nikki's grandma had owned it or something, if I remember right back in the day. I think grandma owned it.
Is that how she
ended up?
Because they lived out in Washington, right?
What's that?
Nikki and I don't know if Nikki and Woody were married, but they weren't they living out in Washington by Washington State? I know I heard her say it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think she was living in Washington for a while.
Oh,
we'll have to ask her about that.
I will ask her because I didn't ever hear that. Yeah,
she should watch this podcast because I'm throwing it. Hey, you're welcome.
It's Rhino Bar on North Main Street, Racine, Wisconsin.
Main Street, Racine, Kankakee. Let's fill up those leagues. Buno will get you to play dice, and you will not be happy about it. Trust me on that one. But yeah, I don't know. It's obviously, I think it's probably been around. That bar's been there at whatever it was called. It's got to be for a long time now.
Yeah, and it's because it's an old bar. I mean, you could tell, but when you go in there, that it's an old bar. It seems like it's always been a bar. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Nikki about the history of it. I guess next time when I was here.
I'm guessing it goes way back there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, going back to the original question.
But there used to be true lanes.
Was it True Lanes? And were they the only place in town that did the Kankakee?
I think so.
Really? Not like Little Jerry's? We could ask Jerry next time I see Jerry.
Yeah.
When he's driving the bus around.
Yeah, he's got that bus now. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because they had my buddy Toby's mom. I know bowled at Little Jerry's,
where
basically
was Little Jerry's?
Well, it was either where Walgreens is on State and Spring. I don't know if you remember back in the day, it was kind of a goofy intersection. It was almost like a 3 points kind of intersection. There was a auto repair place I remember being there, and I think the bowling alley might have been on one corner. If it wasn't there, it was where the
Oh,
big
Spring
bus
and State,
depot
where
is.
the roundabout is now.
Yes.
Okay,
It
right.
was or no, I'm sorry. Spring or Memorial and
Memorial.
State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, where the Walgreens. Yes.
My apologies, Racine historians.
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Yes, where the Walgreens is there on Memorial. Okay,
Yeah, I think it
gotcha.
was either there or it was just
Hmm.
down State Street where the bus depot is, where the big depot is
Yeah, I
now.
don't
It
remember.
was right in that area.
Okay.
But I remember my buddy Toby's mom. I know why I remember this from childhood, but she bowled at Little Jer's, and I remember driving by it. But
All right.
you know, maybe there was a couple other places that did the Kankakee.
Yeah, I've never heard of any other place doing
Yeah.
it though.
It's a good time. How long you been doing it?
Well, what did I say? We stopped playing softball in about 2007. Boys team. We were doing it for about 3 or 4 years before that. But we've been there about 20 years. That's when it was literally all Finks. And me and my wife at the time, we were the only non-Finks out of 4 teams. So there were about 24 Finks and then us two. And then I got
That's a lot of Finks.
Fritz in there and then Jared. And Fritz was like the next year. So yeah, it literally was the whole family of Finks. It was aunts, uncles, Pat and Vern, and all Vern's brothers and the kids. And yeah,
Billy used to do it.
Billy did not do it.
How many brothers does Bud have?
Just Billy.
Just
It's
Billy?
just him and Billy, yeah. But all the cousins, he's got like me about 100 different cousins. And
I was just making fun of. I think this guy is his cousin. I mean, there's a guy that we bowl with, kind of a big, tall guy, bald. I think he's related to Bud somehow. I'll ask him again. I think he's a cousin or something.
Bowler, bald.
Yeah.
I think that's his. I think I know who you're talking about. I think that's his cousin's husband, Sheila's husband. I think that's Sheila's husband because I seen him out there at the lanes.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look like, I asked Bud who it was. He is it Don?
Yes.
Don.
Yep.
That's Sheila's husband. So yes, Don bowled with us Kankakee back in the day.
Okay.
Don and Sheila both. Yeah, they both did. And the kids.
Is he that slow at Kankakee as he is a regular bowler?
Well, I don't know
he's one of those really slow, like take a long time getting lined up guys.
I don't remember how. I don't know if I've ever seen Don regular bowl, but yes, I know Don. Yes. But yeah, I didn't recognize him. I came up watching you guys bowling one night, and I came up and I'm like, Bud, who is that? That's Don. Oh, I didn't even recognize him. So
me and Glenn were having a little bit of fun at his expense because he was working on this car. So he'd come over almost every night, on Wednesday nights, he'd come over and show Bud. He's like, okay, this car isn't running. He'd pull his phone up, and after like the first time, I'd have to walk away because I didn't want to laugh at the guy when he's showing him. He's fixing this van, and he's like, it doesn't run. I think there's something wrong with the fuel system or whatever. And then he pulls the phone up, and he's got all these wires with all these blue butt connectors crimped on there. Like, I'm like, what the hell does this guy do to this car? Like, the thing's going to start on fire. He's just got all these wires snipped and connected together. I'm like, whoa. So yeah, we poked a little fun at him. Hopefully he doesn't beat me up if he sees us, and I'll buy him a beer or something.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn touched on that last time when he was over, just talking about the bowling community. It seems like the bowling community in general, like everybody is kind of rooting for everybody. Like everybody's on the same page, And that's what I like about the Kankakee too. Like it's just like that whole group, that whole league.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of good people. Everybody's, there's no, even our big rivals, the Astronauts and the Flying V's. I mean, those are our rivals. Obviously, they're just a blast.
We have a good time.
Yeah,
you want to beat them, but
right.
Nobody likes to lose, especially none of us. Like you said, the 3 rivals, we want to beat each other, and comes down to the last game every time, and it's fun. There's a little trash talking, but just like any bowling,
Well,
just
it's
like
all
any
over.
sporting
Nobody's
event.
mad though, right? I mean,
Right.
everybody's having a
We're
good
all like,
time, right? Yeah,
good match, you know what I mean?
yeah. Except for
Buying
you,
drinks,
maybe.
and
You're probably mad.
I probably am. I get kind of
You
pissy. I'm like,
shouldn't.
I don't like this. I was the same way in softball. You were too.
I'm.
Nobody.
I've learned to get better as I've gotten older. I'm not as hot-headed,
Oh, I'm not
at
either.
least not on camera.
Yeah. No, I'm not either. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, even in softball, I've been known to grab the bag of bats and throw them into the dugout, and there's been other instances.
Or show up to a game with a fake cast
They
on, like you were hurt.
cast and
That
try and
was.
get a psychological
I don't
advantage.
think it worked that day. I think we won. Or that might have been the day we got hailed on.
Might have been. All I remember is that was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
I'm like, what's wrong with you? And you just
oh
the
my
typical
arm.
Dave Williams wouldn't actually say
Oh,
anything, just kind of
and I
hold the
got
arm.
out there and all of a sudden started whipping the old
Yeah,
ball around
I see what's going
99
on
miles
here.
an hour like normal.
I tell you what, I'm going to remember it like this. I'm going to remember it. That was one of the days I jacked a home run to right field on you guys. That's how I'm going to remember it. You remember it any way you want.
Yeah, all right, all right.
Yeah, but Kankakee's fun. I
Yeah.
think it'd be cool to see more people do that. I honestly think people, if they did it, they would enjoy it. And maybe even people like Jeff the Butcher Floyd, if he learned to do it the proper way and not just be so hard headed and I got to be a tough guy and whip it down there.
That's what we're gonna call him now. Is Jeff the Butcher Floyd?
Yeah, Jeff the Butcher Floyd.
Uh,
That's I think the first thing I said to him. I saw about Joe's thing was like, "Oh man, you're a butcher." Yeah, Floyd's good, man. He's fun. I love Floyd.
it was. I got good subs, so
Yeah,
I mean,
Mikey
they're fun.
Terosian was
Mike,
he was a real good sub, but he's Hall of Famer.
yeah, he struggled a little that last match. He struggled a little bit, but no, Mike, Jeff. Sometimes we get Crenshaw, and then of course between you and Jared and Jake, and split up the last spot because of the scheduling conflict. And,
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't.
but
work
otherwise,
out like that.
yeah.
Well, actually,
exactly.
we're not bowling couples league next year, so it don't matter to me.
And Woody already had said, like, we'll work on the schedule next year. We'll sit down before. He said it to me like 4 times that last night. So.
Before or after he ran into Jeff's truck.
Wait, no, I wasn't there. That's when he ran in the truck. I was
He
missing
didn't really
that.
like. We just look out the
back
window and here's
into it.
Woody's like right. Yeah,
Yeah.
his hitch is on Jeff's
pushed it,
license
yeah.
plate. Yeah. So then that was 2 weeks later. I had to go up there and bowl, and I
something
saw where
else.
Woody was parked. I said, I walked in, and he was in the middle of a conversation. I wanted to walk right up to him and said, I was going to park right in front of you, but I didn't want you to hit my car. So I parked around the corner.
Got to be careful there. All I'm going to say.
Careful where?
Parking in the Rhino Bar with Woody and Nikki around.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know what they drive. So
Yeah.
around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to finish up on the Kankakee, I actually had 3 different leagues. I've had 3 different leagues in there. After we finished with softball, I had a Thursday league there with the softball guys and the kids for a couple of years.
Like in the wintertime or just
Literally
after you were done?
during the summer as to take place for the softball. So we did that all spring and summer for a couple of years. I did Thursday. When we were originally there with the Finks, it was a Sunday league. So after the Finks all phased out after 5 or 6
All
years,
400 of them?
then I ran a Sunday league too. For probably, oh gosh, I bet you 4 or 5 years I had a Sunday league. That was fun. Now again, that was mostly all the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Worcester, I mean Jared and Worcester and the wives and stuff. It was a good time. But yeah, I've been on 3 different leagues at Kankakee there. So
Well, that's probably why you're halfway decent at it.
I
Lots of
need to get
practice.
better.
I get better every year a little bit.
Well,
My average, I don't know what my average ended up, but I know I finished up pretty strong.
I think you were around a 42, 43.
Didn't I
I'm
shoot?
not
What did I
mistaken.
shoot? Did I shoot a 70?
Yeah, you had
something?
your best game of your entire
Yeah.
life. That might have been a 70, if not.
It was.
It was pretty close.
Yeah, I was pretty proud. I got home. I told Jenny. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, cool."
Yeah. Hey, For those of you not familiar with the Kankakee world, 70s really, really good. Okay.
Yeah, was that against Ross's team too? I think it was. I think
Was
it was.
that the Friday or was it the Sunday? Wait. You you bowled the Friday and the Sunday, right? You missed Saturday.
No, I bowled Saturday and Sunday. I think.
That's what it
I
was.
missed one
So
of
you,
those days. I think I bowled 2 days in a row.
yes,
I
okay.
missed the Friday because
Then I think that was against the Nuts.
could have been.
I think it was against the Nuts
Yeah,
because
because
we
we bowled
bowled
both
Ross
those
on
guys.
Thursday. Well, you were there. Nope.
Wait a minute. Did we bowl on Thursday?
We
that
bowled
week too?
Ross on Thursday. We bowled the Nuts on Friday. And we bowled the other team on
was Thursday
Saturday.
then.
And then we bowled the Nuts on Sunday. It was
'Cause
Thursday.
I bowled on Thursday,
against
but
Ross.
I wasn't there on Friday because I can't remember, whatever. I
You
couldn't
went up
make
north.
it. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were moving the camper that
Yeah.
weekend.
You went
to
up
the
north
Dells.
and then you were back for Saturday night's game.
Yep. Yeah, because it came right back. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good times. Yeah, a lot of fun doing that. So I know you went to Germany just recently,
I did.
and you were there for what, 10 days roughly?
We
Something like that?
left here March 19th and I got back in O'Hare in Chicago on April 1st. So we were gone for about 10 days or so.
And did you stay different areas or in just one area, same place?
No, we stayed at a couple different places. The first night we actually stayed in a hotel right there in Munich when we flew in and kind of recuperated and stayed the night in Munich, and then we stayed. My daughter-in-law Ellie has some distant relatives still over there
Mm-hmm.
that she's been in contact with thanks to social media and all this stuff, and the fact that
They didn't flee to Argentina.
they didn't. They may have 80 years ago, but they're all back. I mean, Justin and Ellie had lived over there for about 3 years when Justin was stationed there for the army. So
Mhm.
she lived over there, kind of reconnected with family members there. So we stayed actually 3 nights with one of her cousins outside of Waldsassen, and then we stayed at a couple B&Bs.
B&Bs, like bed and breakfast?
I guess you want to call it a B&B,
I mean, I
right?
don't know.
We rented,
it could
or
be-
should I just say we rented a house?
Oh, Airbnb?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What did I say?
B&B?
Okay. It's an Airbnb, right?
Okay, so you
B-
rented a house. Yeah, that's like an Airbnb.
Okay, see, I'm old. I don't know none of
Yeah.
that shit.
Well, you say B&B, I'm like, what was this, like Groundhog Day when
Bed
you
and
wake up and
breakfast?
you
I
go
don't-
have breakfast
Bed
with
and
everybody else
breakfast, is
staying
that
there?
what it,
Bed
I
and
guess it's
breakfast.
an Airbnb.
Okay.
So we stayed in the Alps there for about the first three nights after Munich.
How was
we were in
that?
there.
That'd
It was
Like,
cool.
that'd be like the scenery had to been
It
great
was
there.
it was so awesome.
Yeah.
You're right there in the foothills of the Alps. You look up and you see all the snow-covered. It's fantastic, and they're just like all chalets. The village looks like something out of a Dickens novel or
Mhm.
something. It's so cool, and it's cobblestone. This actual city, and they're all chalets, and it's just so vintage, old looking there.
They probably keep it like that on purpose.
On
for the
purpose,
look,
I'm
right?
sure. But yeah, no, it was a once in a lifetime thing for me. I don't think I would do it again, only because I burnt up so much of my vacation time. I don't have that much vacation time anymore, so I burned
Mhm.
all my vacation on that. And I'm glad I did it. But would I go back? Maybe after I retired, maybe. Because I'm sure that, like I said, Justin and Ellie go every year.
Oh, they do?
They go back every year. Wesley, my grandkids have been there twice already.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, it was fun. We really packed it in 10 days, that's for sure. So
Yeah, did you see some history stuff?
we went to Dachau.
Is that in Germany or is that in Poland?
That is in Germany.
Okay.
That's right north of Munich. We were in the southeastern part of Germany, down in Munich area, in a little bit south, because we actually went into Salzburg, Austria. Went to the salt mine, went into salt mines there, and then we also, for the day, me and Tristan, Justin, and Oliver, we took the train and we went to Czechoslovakia. We went to Prague for the day.
Is it easy to cross borders like that?
Yeah, you know what? It kind of sucks because I got a passport, so I can travel.
Hmm.
Well, they don't stamp nothing any day. You can literally just go wherever you please.
In Europe, you think they do that? They don't stamp you. I like.
They
I know
stamped
because
me in Iceland.
I know they do it a little bit differently in Europe because I mean all those countries are like they're like well most of them are smaller than our
Yeah,
states, right?
yeah.
So I could I could see it being a total pain in the ass to have to like get stamped every time you went into
Which
another
is what they
country.
used to do.
So, but that's well European Union stuff. That's probably what that's part of that is.
But I
You
thought
know,
Iceland was part of the European Union too.
hmm.
But we got stamped in Iceland, but not the rest of the.
You know what they have in Iceland? The most beautiful women in the world.
That's what I see that on the internet all
Yeah,
the time.
that's what Coakley and Hall Pass said too. I don't know. I've never been
Yeah.
to Iceland, but
Well, I didn't
I
make it
imagine
out of
it
the
that way.
airport, so
You what?
I never made it out of the airport.
Well, how were the women in the airport? Were they most beautiful women in the airport?
We were too busy running to our flight. I didn't even notice.
Oh, you had to run your flight?
Well, what we on the way back, we were there for about maybe a half hour. But on the way there to Germany, we had a quick connect, get our flight. So we were through customs and got our things stamped and
Anything
all
but
that happy crappy. But yeah, we ended up going into Austria. We went to Prague. Prague was awesome, dude.
Prague? That's Czechoslovakia?
Czech.
Yeah,
God, what a
or not? Is it Czech? No, it's not Czechoslovakia anymore.
yeah, it
No,
is.
isn't it Slo?
Nope.
Wait, what am I thinking about? Wasn't there one of those countries broke up? They had a falling
Yeah,
out.
you're thinking of
No, it's Slovakia and the Czech Republic. That's what it is. It used to be Czechoslovakia. Now it's Slovakia and the Czech Republic. I'm pretty sure of that. I think they had a falling out. They broke up.
I don't think so.
Okay, well,
I think Czech is
I'm
always
gonna
been the
look it
Czech
up.
Republic, but Slovakia was yeah.
Yeah, see, that was part of something. They're separate now. I know they are. I'll look it up. I think I
Are you
just looked at
thinking
it.
of Serbia and
No,
Slovenia and Croatia?
no, I think it was. I think it's Slovakia because I actually said something to Scott because he's Slovakian, and I remember making a joke about it one time. He's like, "Oh, at least you know your map or you know your geography or something."
Now I want to look this up because
Yeah,
I don't.
we'll look it up afterwards.
All right.
I think they did, but regardless,
Yeah.
we know
Well,
the same. We're talking about the same area.
Czechoslovakia.
Yeah,
So Prague is
we're not
such.
geography professors, so
Well,
nobody's gonna.
I
I'm
like
sure
to
you could
think
get berated for it. Like
I like
you
to
guys
think
are
I'm a
idiots.
geography
You don't know
professor, but
anything.
um, yeah, Prague is so old. That city,
I heard it's a cool city.
unbelievable, unbelievable. Yeah, we spent. I mean, how long was our train ride? Dang it.
Is that the way to travel? To
Yeah, we had to go into Czech. We had to take the train from whatever city into Prague. think I think we spent a total of about 3 hours there and back on the train. I mean, we were gone all day. We left at 8 o'clock in, but we got home by like 8 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
Went to a nice Irish pub in Prague for lunch.
Okay. You didn't go to like a
Eh,
tilted kilt or
Went to an Irish pub, kind of the same type of pub that is in downtown Milwaukee. There, what's the name of that Irish pub down there?
I'm sure they got like 10 of them down there.
That's a famous, like the one out on Highway 100, whatever the hell. Anyway, it was kind of like that. But yeah, that's where we had lunch anyway. Yeah, it's a good time. Really old. A lot of old churches. This bridge. We had to walk to the bridge. I mean, the street. You just have to experience it for yourself.
Sure.
There's so many small shops, and you just go in, and it was amazing. It's like quaint and huge at the same time. So many people there. So
Yeah.
many people walking. It's tourists. It's crazy.
Yeah, you think it's touristy or
Ugh.
I was like, I have a kind of a little bit of a, I've never been over there, but I have a theory. Like trains are the way to. That's what everybody travels by train to go everywhere over there, right? And you hear talk in the states. We need to use more trains. I'm like, it's
I
kind of.
like the train.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the train, but what I was kind of going to get at is like I think it's a different So Europe, the way it is, it's populated, it's more dense, it's more, conglomerated into smaller areas. In the States, we're not really like that. And so, I don't know how their roads are, if they have as many highways like we do or whatever, but I think the train works good over there, and it makes sense if the way I think about what Europe is like, it totally makes sense that to use the train. It's like going to New York and using the subway. Why the fuck would you have a car if you're in New York? It makes zero sense
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do that. But
yeah.
in Milwaukee or here, like, why would I want to take a train anywhere? I'm getting my car. I listen to my music. I don't have to sit and wait at a train station and like,
Well, if I had to do it every day, no. I would like doing the train like once in whatever,
yeah,
once every year, once every 6
yeah.
months, you know? But no, to take the train like every day. Although, I don't know.
I think
I don't
over
know.
there it probably makes more sense if it's.
But
That's
you'd
why
be
when you said it was
surprised.
busy,
y- You'd be surprised how many cars that were driving through all these people at the same time, right
yeah.
in the middle of the city. You're like, this is crazy.
That's yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of it too. That kind of tells me like it's populated. There's a lot of people
There's,
in these areas, right? Um, so that's why it's like, yeah, to me, it's like it makes sense to have the train. Use the train. Use the
yeah,
public.
yeah,
Use the mass
yeah,
transportation makes sense. But you know,
yeah.
it always like I think it's just very. Sometimes I think it's very shallow thinking on people's parts. Like we need to be like Europe and have all these trains. I'm like, nah, it's a different country. It's different here, so it might not be the best fit for us. And I've never been a big fan of like wanting to be like Europe anyways. Like, well, we all left,
Yeah,
well, I didn't leave. I wasn't there, but people before me that were my ancestors left there because
sure.
we're like, fuck this place. We're getting out of here. Which I'll get into. That's a whole
Yeah, I know
nother
where,
conversation that
yeah.
we'll get in. But you know what I mean? We left there and I always find it funny when
Come over
it
and,
seems like people want to be more like Europe when we're here. I'm like, don't you forget that you left there for a reason? Now you want to be like that again? All right. All right. Then
yeah,
when you don't like it, where you ain't got nowhere to go now. But
yeah,
anyways, it's fine. I just not a big deal. The train thing, I think, yeah, transportation kind of dictates. I think the area and the population density dictates what transportation
sure, of
is
course.
is the best, right?
And
That's the way it should be
actually, the only
approached.
reason why we took the train that day was because Ellie needed the van. We only had one vehicle. So she and her parents went to it somewhere else, and then we all went there. So, but I do enjoy taking a train trip.
Yeah,
I do.
wouldn't
I
bother me either.
remember we went to with Queensryche down in Chicago with Beavers about, I don't know, 20 years, whatever the hell it was. And yeah, I would take the Amtrak down from Chicago, drink the car dry on the
Good thing
way
you did before
down.
my kids started working
Yeah,
on the
no
trains.
kidding. Probably charged me double.
Nothing's derailed since he's worked there,
Yeah,
so
well,
I
that's
think he's doing
good.
a good job.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. But yeah, I do enjoy the occasional train trip. If they ever had a train running from here to Minneapolis, I know everybody's shooting it down, but right, they're talking about that
Hmm.
possibly. I'd be like, I would take it once because my daughter lives in Lacrosse. I'd take the train up to Lacrosse. I wouldn't have to drive, use my own gas.
Yeah,
I would do that, I think.
yeah,
But,
I hear you on
you
that.
know, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a bad thing to have a rail go there. But what it all comes down to, it's like money.
Yeah,
Like how much money you
it
want to
won't
pour,
happen.
how much money you're going to pour into it, and
Yeah,
it's kind of like how many people are going to ride it, kind of thing. That's the
sure. You
biggest
got to
thing. Like,
weigh that.
right,
Exactly. Exactly.
you can't just throw, uh, you know,
Yeah,
billions of dollars of taxpayer money at something and four
sure.
people are riding the stupid thing.
No,
That
exactly.
makes zero sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, if it's some of that stuff definitely worth it, like the Chicago stuff, and then like even the train that like the Metro from
Yeah,
Kenosha
yeah,
or the Amtrak. A lot of people take that, and it makes sense. I wouldn't want to drive down to Chicago if I worked downtown
sure.
Chicago. If I
Me
was close
too.
to a train station, I think that's the way I would do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive through Chicago traffic every day if I worked down there. No way.
Yeah, nah, me
So I
either.
get it. Yeah, I would. See, there you go. That's when it.
Yeah, that's why
That's
I'm
when it
like, hey,
makes sense. You're like,
that's what I'm getting
you
at. I'm
know,
driving at like
that's when
every
it makes
situation is a
sense.
little bit different. That's the
Sure.
way it should be approached rather than sometimes I think people are like they see it as a good idea in one instance and they go, we need to do that. I'm like, maybe you should think about that a little
Yeah.
bit because maybe that's not the best solution for you. a lot of cookie cutter stuff everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I did I got a whole bunch of thoughts on that kind of
I'll
crap.
bet.
I do. I know. Should see the back of my bar, all the random things I write down. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, I'm not that crazy, I guess. This kind of makes sense. Some of them I look at, I'm like,
the hell was that?
too
How
much
did I
whiskey.
write?
The hell, I don't even know what that means. But hey, that's what that's Jenny even got on board now. She calls me an artist too. Yeah. As I tell her, I'm an artist. That's right. I'm creative. The way I really do approach life though, I'm like, I don't mind making mistakes. I think it's a good thing. I think we got to a point where we started telling kids failure is not a thing. You can't fail. Don't let anybody ever fail. And I think that's terrible. I think we all fail, and we all learn. When you fail, you learn from it, right? Well, you should. If you don't learn from it, well, we got different conversation, right? But I don't mind throwing ideas out there, even if they sound stupid and cockamamie, because every once in a while, a good one comes out there.
Good one's gonna hit.
And that's the one that stays, right? That's the one that sticks. And like the rest of them go in the garbage can, the good one stays.
Yeah.
That's like, you just got to have that mindset. No fear, just do it. I'm just going to do it like this. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
you're
nuts.
Whatever. I'm not going to argue with you that I'm nuts. Yes, not a debate there.
No, that's the way you are, though, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to throw yourself out there.
Well, you got to do it, man. Yeah. You got one life, right? You got, if you're lucky, you get 90 years on this planet to do things. You know what I mean? And how many of those are good? So realistically, and it seems like I think a realistic number, you could say you probably got a good 75 years. Well, let's say from the age of maybe 10 till 75, you have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things with your life, right? Once you get to a certain age, I mean, it's hard to get around when you get so old, and you got to be right next to a bathroom so you don't shit your pants and things like that.
I'm there right now.
But you probably don't mind having an itchy butt crack, so you can just keep going on with your day for a little while. Kind of like when you were a kid before 10, I'm like, yeah, whatever. My butt crack itches. I don't really care.
I'm getting it, like I said.
But I mean, like, take advantage of those, the best years of your life that you have. That, I think it's a good idea to just take advantage of that, and whatever it is that you think you want to do with your life. Like, I know we have obligations. We got to take care of our kids if we have children, and if we're married, there's obligations there. But when you're not fulfilling those obligations, do the shit that you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, someday you're gonna die, or someday you're gonna be too old to do those things, and you're gonna be like, man, I wish I would have done that. And do you want to have regrets like that? I know we all have them, but
right.
It's just how I look at it.
Yeah,
that's how I view my life.
Yeah.
That's why I'm buying a skateboard. I am. I'm going to buy an old school one. I got one in the garage, and every once in a while I go out there and ollie, and I took a video a few years ago of me ollieing on a skateboard. I'm going to go out now that I'm 50. I'm going to buy an old school one, because that one I got in the garage is made for like somebody that's 80 pounds, not for somebody my size. But the old school, big, wide tank skateboards that I learned riding on, that I could ollie pretty high on. I'm buying one of those, and I'm going to ollie as soon as I get it.
Oh my god!
Or I'm going to work at it until I ollie again.
Yeah,
or until
I know
break
you will.
something.
Yep.
And I'm going to do it every year until I can't do it anymore.
Listen, I was happy just to get out yesterday and shoot a basket or a couple baskets yesterday. I was pretty proud of myself. It gets pretty hard to get around.
Do you have a basketball hoop?
Yeah.
Is that
got her down to 8 feet? Yeah.
Were you dunking?
I dunked a couple times.
On 8 foot?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could jump that high.
I didn't feel like I was jumping that high, let me tell you. Maybe it's only 7 foot. I don't know. You know what? No. Jake had his hand up and he could dunk stand. He's 6 feet. So yeah, it's 8 footer.
Close to 8 foot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have it down there for Lincoln can shoot.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed mine when you pulled up, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Grandkids.
Yeah. Got it down.
Put it down. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to dunk on this.
Yeah.
I didn't actually dunk on it. I
Well,
wanted
like
to.
I keep telling myself, I'm like, I got to get out and exercise. I'm so out of shape and so
Mm,
fat and old. I'm like, I got to exercise. So I was actually out and I was shooting some buckets. I felt pretty good. I mean, I was nailing my jumpers, but
yeah,
I'm like that. I mean, I'm just sitting here. I can't breathe. So where's my albuterol?
you need some
Uh,
oxygen.
I mean, yeah,
Jenny's mom carries hers. I mean, she's got a little
I'll
thing.
probably
She's
get
got
to
that.
that point. That and a piss bag.
Do, do I have to stop making fun of you when that happens, or can I?
No,
You don't mind? What if I like stole your piss bag and like
that would
you
be
really
cool. Well, if you want to steal it, go ahead. You're
take it,
walking around with my
throw it on the
piss
road
bag.
somewhere? Like, oh, it's my bag.
Yeah,
uh,
that actually. Well, I'd still have the catheter. You can disconnect the piss bag.
I'm
So
not.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I say I'm not messing with your catheter if you got that. I draw the line. I'm not like I'm not putting things in people's
Hey,
wee
you're
wees
never
or
gonna
taking
guess
them out.
what? I just stole Dave's piss bag and threw it on the roof. Fuck him.
I just yanked yanked his catheter out.
Oh God. Oh, we veered there, didn't
Yeah,
we?
well, that's what happens sometimes. What's the matter, Sarge? You got to go outside, buddy? I'm gonna let him out. Hang out. Or if you got to pee or something, do that. I'll just let everything roll and we'll get
Could
right back
probably
at it.
pee.
Yeah, have at it. Okay, we're gonna take a break, let the dog out, but nobody's gonna know that because I'm just gonna edit it out anyways. All right, so you all right there?
Yeah, but I
You good?
am really wheezing.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually felt that a little like earlier today. I felt kind of the same. I felt when air quality's not great.
yeah, it
That happens
definitely
with you.
has to have
It's all my
something.
allergies, and I think I might be a slightly asthmatic. I feel like I am, but never been diagnosed.
Yeah,
Because I'll get that on bad air quality days. I get a little bit of a wheeze.
yeah. This is not. Like I said, I have albuterol at home. I normally don't do it, but I might have to take a puff when I get home.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they all say. Puff the magic dragon, right?
Man, yeah.
All right, so I'm backing up here. Well, sort of backing up. Going back to our breakup when we didn't hang out for those years. But I've known you a long time. And it actually wasn't till just maybe a few years ago where I learned that you were Native American. But it's not like I go out asking people that are my friends like, "Hey, are you Polish? You German? What are you? Japanese? Native American? Indian? What are you?" So it's not like I go around asking people, but when I learned that, I'm like, "Huh, well, that's interesting."
I have some Native American.
That's how much?
Probably about a quarter.
About a quarter. Your dad was? Well, he lived up on the res, right?
Dad
Or he
was an
lived.
enrolled member of. He was. I get penalized because I am mixed. A Heinz 57 native is what I consider myself. Okay. I have Oneida and Mohican, Stockbridge, which is Mohican. That's my most, but I have Brotherton, we have Pequot. I have going back into my ancestry, quite a different blend of East Coast tribes because they all pretty much melded together and had sex with each other, and
Like
as a
people
result,
do.
it's me. So I actually get penalized for. I'm not recognized as an. Well, when Dad was alive, I was recognized as a descendant of an enrolled member, which I think I probably still am based on the 1856 tribal rolls of Stockbridge rolls. But I got penalized. I can't be an enrolled member because I have split Oneida and Stockbridge
Okay.
Mohican. Half of my family was enrolled Oneida and half of them were enrolled as a Mohican, which is,
All on your
I don't
dad's
like
side?
saying Stockbridge because Stockbridge, when you go up there, it's the Stockbridge Band of the Mohican.
Mhm.
Stockbridge is actually a town in Massachusetts where these Mohicans lived, and they called them Stockbridge because that's where they lived, was in Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I personally don't like that Stockbridge. I prefer Mohican. So that's typically what I say is Mohican and Oneida.
Just
So,
because what with the Stockbridge, like are you breaking it down too far kind of thing? Like, hey, we're
yeah, I think it's stupid. Like, You name them after a town?
Yeah, it's kind of like we're Americans, but I'm Racine American.
Yeah. Oh,
Is that
you're a
is that
Racine?
right? Okay.
That's why it sounds stupid. A lot of people don't, and it all depends on the person. I mean, a lot of people, I'm Stockbridge. Like, okay, well, you're a town. I don't like it. I prefer Mohicans.
Yeah, like, does it matter if you're like, honestly, if you're Mohican or Stockbridge, like, did one of them consider themselves better than the other? Is that
No,
the deal with
because
it?
it literally, like I said, this when you go on the tribe land up there, it literally says Stockbridge Muncie
Yeah.
because the Muncie melded in with the Stockbridge. The Muncie are a Delaware Indian or a Lenape, and it's a Stockbridge Muncie, and then it says Band of the Mohican. So,
So
but it,
The Mohicans are East Coast, like you said, and then
originally,
they migrated
correct, yeah,
west. Obviously, I'm gonna make an assumption it's as the Europeans started invading, which
yeah,
I'll use
and
that
take,
word invading because that's what they did.
yeah, yeah.
Then they started moving west.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you by chance know how many? Go ahead. You got something
No,
else?
go ahead,
No,
ask your
that's it.
question.
I was going to ask you. Do you by chance know how many Indian tribes there are, or the original Indian tribes there were? Were like, was there like six big ones? Like you had the Sioux, the Mohicans,
Oh,
the
there's
Potawatomi,
hundreds.
the Ojibwa.
Yeah,
Um, what's out on the west coast?
everybody. You would be surprised, and especially nowadays with the natives that identify as natives, there's so many different. Say, for instance, the Sioux. There are so many different Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, Santee. There's so many different tribes that are Siouan that speak a Sioux language, but they identify as this is a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
The Europeans name, you know what I mean? They kind of shortened everything. If your enemy called you a certain name, that's what they shorten it. So some tribal names or some tribes you think of are actually derogatory terms from enemies. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but they literally are
I'm like, what is he doing over there?
are,
Sorry.
are derogatory names like crow, whatever. They had a name for somebody, and then they all of a sudden just called them that. Well, that really was a derogatory term.
He doesn't like what you're talking about. Obviously, he's like,
Going on, Sarge?
there's something in here. He's like, I gotta find it.
Going on? But there's so many different native. It would boggle your mind.
Huh.
Like I said, most people think of you said Sioux, the Ojibwa,
Yeah.
there's so many, dude. So many. Um, as I was saying earlier, with the Mohicans who were
Sarge,
in
get out of there.
Massachusetts. What's the matter, Sarge?
Mhm. He wants to be on camera.
What is it?
Stupid dog. Go lay down, Sarge.
My grandpa's side of the family was Mohican. My grandma's side of the family was Oneida, majority, like I said. So grandma was Oneida. Half of my uncles were Oneida, and some of them were Mohicans. My dad actually was on the Oneida rolls, but he couldn't get any land at that time. They're just now starting to get land up there in Green Bay and Hobart and all that outside
Mhm.
of Green Bay. For the Oneidas,
Sarge,
they put housing
get
and
out of
stuff.
there now. Get. Knock it off. Lay down.
Do your bone.
All right, we'll just ignore him. Okay, so
Sure.
millions of tribes or
So what I
whatever.
was saying that Dad was originally enrolled in Oneida. He couldn't get any land for Oneida, and that's what he wanted was land. So he ended up just switching and he went on the Mohican rolls
Hmm.
because they were offering land at that time.
Do you have to prove? Is there any paperwork to back it up? Like, hey,
Well, you go by I had mentioned earlier the rolls of tribal rolls of 1856, and that's how do they go by their enrolled members? Well, my great great grandfather was Eli Williams, was an enrolled tribal member in 1856.
Mhm.
All these tribes go off some type of treaty or an enrolled member at a certain time. Don't ask me how they figure out what year, what treaty they go by.
yeah.
That's why it's fucked up with the federal government, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and all this shit. So don't ask me why They go off the 1856 rolls. I have no idea. But grandpa was on, my great great grandpa, my great great grandpa Eli was on the 1856 rolls. So yeah, dad ended up just switching, and he got a farm up there for the last 20 years of his life while he was alive, and he was happy and he got what he wanted. So,
Hmm.
but like I said, half of them were Oneida and more Mohican. So yeah, I still have two uncles that are still alive, old as fuck, and they're up there on the Mohican res. My uncle Eli and my uncle Floyd, and 90 and 88.
Okay.
They're still up
What's
there.
up there?
So yeah, they still live on the res, and my dad's property went to his wife, so I don't know what's going on with that because I don't know until she dies. I don't know. I was tempted to call. I don't know if Sheila's still running the tribe up there and call and go, hey, do I? Because me and my kids were recognized as descendants of a direct descendant, which is what I was recognized as on my paperwork. And I could go up and get free health care and stuff if I wanted to drive 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
I used to take Jake up there when when he was a little kid and I couldn't afford, wasn't making money with all these
Hmm.
kids, and I'd take him up there, get his false teeth and stuff for free up there, and take him up, and but I mean stuff like that I could if I wanted to,
Get the same kind of care
but
that you get in the VA.
yeah, more or less. I
Yeah,
mean,
like what Cody is like, yeah,
so
they'll go up there, whatever, you're fine. Send you back out of there. Here, I'll give you
so
a wooden leg. Like, dude, it's not 1840 anymore. I don't need a wooden leg. Can you get me one that's
can you
got one of those
get me?
springs on the bottom or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I'm tempted to say Sheila or whoever's up there now, and like, am I recognized as anything now? I don't know. And I've been tempted to call the Oneida office too because they've been relaxing some of the blood quantums. Like I said, for a blood quantum, you have to be quarter blood. You have to be quarter blood to be recognized.
They test your blood,
No, it
or
all
they
goes
just go
back
by
to the
ancestry.
ancestry. So yeah, but they've been relaxing some of those because my dad had used to be a real shit kicker up there, and he raised a lot of hell at that tribe. And they hated him because he'd go to the council meetings and stuff, and he'd bring up everything and raise hell, and he was always asking
Good for
questions, and
him.
he was a lot of people up there called him a troublemaker, but
That's
he
because
kind of
people don't
was.
like it when you ask them
He would
questions.
ask questions, and he would get pissed off, and they didn't like it. Like you said, when he would ask questions, go, "This is what," but he always said, there's not going to be a tribe if you keep, if you don't lower the blood quantum, this tribe is gonna. And there's not that many for the Mohicans. I think there's only like 1,800 enrolled tribal members as there is right now, as it
Hmm.
is stands. I believe not very many. Oneida's a lot more. I don't know the number, but yeah, only about 1,800. So
You, you would know. I mean, you might not know this either, but you probably you'd have a better chance of knowing this than I would. Do you think that the tribe or the tribal members, the Native Americans, do is it frowned upon to, you know, um, well, how do I want to put this? I'm probably trying to be too politically correct, which I shouldn't. But you like, do the Native Americans tend to um, stick with Native Americans, or do they frown upon people if they go and they marry an Irish
no,
woman or guy?
absolutely not.
They don't. That doesn't.
No,
Not a big
that's
deal.
never. No, it's never been a big deal because even if you go back to and read the accounts from the 17, 1800s, they would have taken people, if they lost a warrior or whatever, they'd go out and kidnap a white
Yeah.
guy and bring him in and adopt him into the tribe and
Okay.
make him so they would replace them
Sure. Okay.
with another, and they made him an Indian that way.
So like race didn't really. It doesn't. You
No,
don't think so? Even nowadays, it's not like a race thing. Like you know how it's interracial couples are a lot more common now
yeah,
than even, I mean, going back to 30 years ago.
no.
Growing up, you didn't see it as much. Now you do, and because I just think people are like just
Well,
kind of over, like they're like maybe they're not being taught that you have to stick with your own kind, and they're just like,
I'll
hey
tell you
man, this
why, and
people are people kind of thing, and like people are starting to get it, like instead of judging people by
no. Well, my great grandpa actually married a white woman, so that's why grandpa was only like half.
Hmm.
Um, but listen, that's funny that you say that as to how it's because they tried to breed the Indian into extinction anyway, the Native American.
I mean, okay.
They
I mean,
did.
yeah,
They tried to assimilate them. They made them. My grandma went to an Indian school, a
yeah, yeah.
mission school. They stripped them of their identity. They made them wear their clothes that they wanted to. They taught them English. They completely did not. Natives nowadays, and I'm not a diehard native like some of these people. I mean, I can give or take. I'm not crazy, Mother Earth and all this shit. I'm really not.
Hmm.
But they stripped these people of their identity, their native tongue. People are now just starting to really, and it's hard. I have dictionaries and vocabulary books of Mohican language and everything. It's really hard. I have some Mohican words like on my arm here, I am who I am. Then now I Hawaiian, and that's I am who I am. Um, it's hard. They're just now speaking. But my grandma went to mission school, and they wanted to just again strip them of their identity.
Yeah.
They tried to breed the native people into extinction. They did that.
Which eventually, like, so there's like three things that when you're talking about that, I was like, there's three things now I want to talk about. Like that's uh, what you're saying there is the thing that I was originally was going to bring up. I'm like, at some point in America, okay, in the United States of America, we're I always I've been saying this a while. Like at some point we have to we're all just Americans, right? Because we're we're having children with all kinds of different backgrounds. People from Poland, Germany,
Oh yeah,
people from Africa, people from Native Americans, Irish people, Japanese, Chinese, whatever. Just throw them all out there.
yeah,
Russians, right? There, because we have such a big melting pot here,
sure,
and at some point or another, right? We're there. It's all going to be gone.
yep,
And there's just like you just have to because it's. I think this is one country. It's always been kind of funny when you people talk like, oh, well, where are you from? Where's your family from? Like, I'm American, motherfucker. What do
yeah,
I like? Do I need to go through like, oh, I'm like this much Polish and maybe I'm German and I'm like Hungarian and I got to go through that every time, like, because well, I didn't come from there. I come from here, just like you do. You come from here, like most people do, and that's kind of what my question was kind of going at. Like I didn't know if the natives in the tribes, like some maybe the elders, maybe were like, we stick with our own kind of thing, or eventually we're all going to have kids from different people, different races, different backgrounds,
yep,
and we're all just going to be Americans at
yeah.
some point, and then nobody's going to care, right?
And that's what I said earlier was pretty soon there won't be a tribe of Mohicans because there won't be any left. And there are, I know for a fact, there are some natives that only will marry native and have native kids because they want to keep that native blood.
Hmm.
But
And you're always
no,
going to have people that do that, and whatever you
yeah.
are, right? There's going to
But
be
like you
people that are
said,
hardcore
yeah,
that way.
eventually, what, 2 generations, 3 generations from now, you're
Yeah,
going to think back and go, nobody's going to say, well, I'm Polish. No, nobody is,
unless you're from Poland,
unless you're directly from
right?
100% Polish.
If you live in Poland, you're Polish, right?
Yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, listen, I got German, I got some Irish. I'm old enough where I can still, these were my family. My dad
Hmm.
did my family tree. I know where most of my ancestors come from. So, yeah, I always say I'm proud of my native, but I'm not nuts about it. Um, I love my native family, but they're all dying. I mean, I got cousins, but you know how it is when generations to generations, so many, you just lose touch with
Yeah,
when your grandmas and grandpas were alive. That was the center of the universe.
right.
Everybody went to grandmas. Everybody, grandma was there, and everybody. But then they die, and then you start.
A new grandma,
Yeah, well,
kind of. I mean, although things change,
yeah,
I think the family network is a little bit different. It's a different, you know, it's different now.
yeah,
Let's
it's
leave it
way
that way.
different.
It's not as probably not as close knit as it was, but that might have been a bit out of a necessity too, because technology has changed so many things
Yeah.
that, you know, where maybe you were leaning on family members for certain things that you don't need to anymore. So it, you know, it allows you to grow apart per se, because you know, you don't need to have all these people, like, well, let's say farmers, for instance.
Yeah.
The farmers always had a million kids. Why? Because they needed kids to work the fields and to do the farming. They needed that. Well, now they have a combine. You know, it takes place of 10 kids. They don't need that. So that, well, naturally things are probably going to change then, or evolve, as
Sure.
I would put it that way. You just got to be careful with the really crazy religious people. Talk about evolution, they might get mad at you. I'm talking Charles Darwin kind of stuff. But you know, I mean, that's just kind of, technology changes things. I mean, it changes people's jobs. People don't do the same kind of labor they used to, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but getting back to the Native American heritage stuff, you you ever do you do any you ever read about it, do any studying, because you know that you have so, you know, so
Oh,
much Native American in you.
I've got books and books and
So
books.
you read a lot about that?
I used to.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I have tons of books. And like I said, I have all history of Stockbridge people when they fought in the Revolutionary War. I've got paperwork from my family back in the 1700s that fought in the Revolutionary War, asking Washington for their pension that they were promised, didn't get paid, and
Hmm.
because the Oneidas and the Stockbridge Mohicans, they fought on the American side in the Revolutionary War. They were the Oneida were one of the only part of the five civilized tribes that fought for the Americans. The rest were all in the British. I think the Onondaga were united in the Onondaga, I think, but all the other three civilized tribes fought for the British. So I mean, I love it from a historical standpoint, and it's I yeah, I have a ton of books on native cultures, and like I said, I've tried to delve in to try to learn Mohican. It's too hard. And
Yeah. Well, that's why they
my cousin can speak
was that, oh, it was
some
Navajo that they used for
code
was
talkers
that during World War One or two?
too.
Two, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, code talkers.
Yeah, that's cool that I've been thinking about, um just recently I started thinking more about that. I'm like, you know, I need to get into the history of the Native Americans and the native people that were here when the Europeans came over, because there's a couple things. I think they get kind of brushed under the rug to a point on like what happened. You know, like when I said basically the Europeans came and invaded this country,
Yeah,
and they brought disease with them,
absolutely
and they, you know, they treated the natives like animals
terrible.
basically. Like
Spanish were terrible.
yeah, well,
You
yeah,
look at what they did in South America and Mexico, it's just deplorable.
it and it's, yeah, and it is, it absolutely is. And a lot of that stuff, especially in the United States, I think we gloss over that at times. um you know, I was talking to Jenny last night, and kind of using I was trying to connect these two a little bit. So, you know, I mean, we obviously know slavery was a big thing back in the day in the United States, and we talk about that a lot, and we should, because
Yeah,
it's a terrible thing.
yeah,
It's something that still happens to this day, not in this country, but in other countries, and it's
yeah,
awful, right?
absolutely.
And we all learned about it. We all know about it, and we learned a little bit about the Native American people and how this country was populated and colonized. But I think maybe we don't know enough about that, because really the things that happened when the Europeans came over were pretty atrocious. And
Ye-
the things that they did to them, like, and I, like, again, I can see you shaking your head, like you obviously know way more than I do about it. And that's why I think I should probably learn more about that, because it's terrible,
Yeah,
the things that happen. And now I have to say this at the same time. So what did happen, right? So we know how it turned out now. We know where we are now, right? In this country. And I think to myself, well, if it wasn't the Europeans that came over here and did what they did, what if it was the Russians that came over here and did the same thing to them? It's kind of just a goofy way to think about it. Like, what if it was a different culture of people that came and did that? How would that
I
have
would
turned
have
out?
shaken
I
out.
honestly, my honest opinion is back then when that all happened, it would have just been a different group of people coming
Yeah,
over here and doing the
I
same kind of
agree. It
things.
would have been the
It might have
same one.
been worse because there's some things like the I study a lot about. I've been studying a lot about the Russians, the Germans, the World War II, the World War One stuff,
Yeah,
and the Russians, even the Russian Revolution with the Tsar, when they went from the czars into when Lenin
yeah.
came in, and we all know what happened after that. Well, we should. Um, but people were, I mean, back then in the 1800s, the 1700s,
You can go back
and before.
farther.
I know you can go back farther. I mean, well, the Jews have been prosecuted for.
Yeah.
The more I read about what happens with the Jews, I'm like, they've been doing
Oh,
that kind of stuff to
yeah,
the Jews for so long. I don't even think people realize how long that has been going on. It's been going on a long,
yeah.
long, long time. But I wonder, like, sometimes how this country would turn out if it wasn't the people that came in and did what they did. Doesn't excuse anything they did at all. What if it was somebody else? What would it be like? It would be just.
It would be the same. Honestly, you make a good point because
I think it was inevitable. I
I
guess the part of what
think
I'm getting at, it's inevitable that somebody was going to come to this country and take it over because that's what they did
that's
back
what they
then.
did.
Yep.
They were doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. It could have been the Muslims, could have been the Russians, could have been the Finns. That's what they did. They were a war. They were at war
War for territory.
nonstop.
Just like my buddy Max would say, war for territory. That's what they were. I mean, really.
They were at war for 100. It didn't matter. Didn't matter.
Yep.
It's all about. So it wouldn't have mattered who came in. But yeah, yeah,
I think it's something that, like, with all the history that I've been learning with the the Eastern European countries, with everything that happened basically in the 1800s on through to the end of World War II and after. Well, in regards to Russia, some of the things that happened under Stalin after World War II are just like they're despicable. Like they make some of that stuff makes Adolf Hitler look like a child. The stuff that Stalin was doing to his own people over, and like, and there's
yeah.
another one. Why don't we teach that stuff? And I know it's harder because the Russians are, being a communist country, it's tough to get decent information out of there. But the Native Americans, what happened to them, a lot of the things that happened in Eastern Europe, all the World War II stuff. I really I don't know why I'm really getting into that stuff, but I think it's because I can see how terrible people can be, and it just blows my mind away. And I think it's important to know how terrible people can be, so that we can point those people out or point those things out when we see them, and hopefully not repeat them.
I think you're start. I think you're starting to see it a little bit more nowadays than obviously in the past. Even in schools, they're finally. I just read an article literally today. Now going back to the native stuff
Hmm.
because that seems to be a big topic lately as far as educating these. I just read a story today of a K through 5 school. Can't remember where the fuck it was now. They contracted some native group and they called them out. They said, "This ain't right. You're not teaching this in the curriculum for these kids. You're not teaching them history the way it's supposed."
The
Literally,
native group said that.
yes,
Okay.
about how they're teaching history of the Native American in a K through 5. It was a big deal. Was it up towards Madison? I don't remember now. I literally just read the damn thing on my phone.
Well,
And
if you find it, text it to me because I'd
it
be
literally
interested.
was in the Milwaukee Journal. I know I just read it before I came over here now. But yes. And so, yeah, they called them out on it and they had contracted these people to make sure to read it or whatever, to make sure that they were getting it right. And yeah, they called them. They said, no, this isn't right. You can't teach this. There's a big push in at least the native communities about getting things right.
Yeah, and it should be. Oh, that should be. Getting
Finally,
things right is important.
I mean, you can read. I've got, like I said, I've got a ton of books. And like I said, I've got Pequot in me too. And the Pequot right now are they're probably one of the richest tribes in America.
Mm.
They're from Connecticut. Again, all my people were out east, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York. Met Hudson coming down the fucking river, and like, hey, motherfucker, come on. So, but the Pequot, they were defeated in what, 1534, something like that. And they thought they exterminated this whole tribe. These are the Puritans,
Yeah, right.
Right?
It's an interesting,
These are
interesting name, right?
1534, right? Or 1634, I'm sorry.
The
The Pilgrims,
Puritans.
sorry.
Yeah.
1634. So these are the Puritans. They thought they completely annihilated the Pequot tribe. They set fire to they had a fort. These people, everybody's like, oh, the Native Warriors. One of my ex-wives, one of them, used to always kid me like, oh,
Let's
yeah,
talk
you're
about that.
wearing a rich cloth and running through the woods if it wasn't for us. I'm like, very funny. The Pequot
That sounds
had
like a Roger
fort.
Fritzism.
Exactly. So anyway, the Puritans, I'm getting to my point the long way here. They set the fort on fire. So whoever didn't burn as they ran out, they just shot them, killed them. And whoever was left, they rounded them up, shipped them off to the West Indies into slavery. There they were.
Mhm.
There's still Pequots around today, but they thought literally that they exterminated this tribe in 1630,
And
whatever
that was
it
their
was.
goal. That's what
Yeah,
they wanted. Yeah.
absolutely. Whatever had lived, they put them on a boat, set them into slavery in the West Indies.
Mm.
But no, they're still strong. They're like, they have the biggest casino in Connecticut.
Hmm.
They're doing all right now. But no, that's throughout history. You don't even hear about stuff like that.
It's not proper payback, but it's payback of some sorts because it's all the white man.
But you
in
wouldn't
there
know the
wasting his
Pequot.
money,
You know what I
right?
mean? Nobody even knows what a Pequot is, and
Yeah.
yet there they were. There's so many tribes through history that happened to that it's just, and I could go on in Spanish forever because they were brutal,
Oh yeah, I can
just
imagine.
brutal.
Yeah, I know just a little bit about that, but I've got the same sentiment about
All for
the Spanish.
gold,
Yeah, I know. It's like it's
But
it's it was a different time, and it's hard to. I can't reflect on it because I wasn't there.
yeah,
But when you
but you
look
read
back
about
at
it
it,
and you're like,
yeah, you read about it and you look back at these
this is
things like,
terrible.
and you look at them through the lens that you have now, and you're like, how can you think that that's okay to do that? Like, what possesses you to think, let's just kill
Yeah.
them off?
And it's gone that way
Yeah.
through history, not just the native, like you said, with the Jews, what the fucking Turks did to the Armenians.
Yeah.
You could go on anywhere. Different cultures were just exterminated or
Except
persecuted.
for in the Americas, the Native Americans. Well, they were probably killing each other. Actually, you think
They
about
fought
that.
each other.
They
Yeah.
probably were. They
Sure.
were probably doing the same thing,
No,
just on a
absolutely
different
they
level,
did.
because they weren't technologically as advanced as the Europeans
They
were.
had enemies.
which
They
is
were fighting each other. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Not without a doubt.
I mean, I guess if there's one lesson to be learned from all this, like man's always fighting, and
Yep.
don't fucking woke people don't fucking blow me up because I just said man and not woman.
Sorry.
I'll take it back.
Men and
people.
women.
Yeah.
and
People have been trying to kill each other and just they've been fighting throughout history.
Throughout history.
And it's almost like they look for reasons to do it. I know religion's a big one. It's always been a big
of course.
one. And
That
it
doesn't even
always
need to
will
be
be.
said. That's been right.
Yeah, they
I
always
think
will
it
be.
started ever since the first alien came down and showed the Sumerians how to fucking.
Now we're getting into the good stuff. Now we're getting into the good
I
stuff.
think it all started when the first god came down, and
That's an interesting topic too.
dude, don't even get me going to that because
Well,
we could do a whole
Yeah, we will. I'm gonna leave some
cast
stuff
on
out.
that because
Well, so let's
because there's some stuff, dude. You read. I
hold on,
haven't
hold on.
read it yet, but if you read like the Mahabharata or whatever that is from India,
Mhm.
dude, talks about spaceships having nuclear war. It's
All right,
amazing.
let's backburner that
Yes,
because I was gonna. I wanted to talk when I asked you about Germany. I
Yeah.
want to talk about the history of that stuff at some point too. But I think that's again we can backburner
Yeah.
that one as well because there's a lot to get into. all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack on all that. But I don't want to have everybody ready to commit suicide by the end of this episode. So
No, for sure.
we should next time we
Like I
do
said,
this,
that's a whole other thing.
yeah, let's make a point of getting into that
Woo.
kind of stuff a little bit deeper next time we do this, because I think that's I can tell you, like I'm fairly educated now on the Eastern European World War II stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I know a lot, way more than I did. But anyways, I think we could have some good conversations on that stuff, because obviously you're definitely a person that's
Dude, I
studied
was just
history
watching
too.
something today on World War II stuff that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
There's so many stories of World War II that are out there that you don't even know happened.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's endless amounts of information out there that you can read.
Yeah.
You just have to go out and you got to seek
Dude,
it
I
out
was
and you got to find it.
real quick, I was watching this thing and I'm like, I found out that 2 days before Germany surrendered in May, there was an American tank group, 5 tanks. It ended up being one going to this castle. Okay, he had he had like 10 German, an officer and soldiers with him. I missed the first 10 minutes, so I don't know how he had an SS colonel with him, and they were trying to protect these French VIPs, prisoners. They were French prisoners. They were working together. They were fighting the SS that were coming to the castle to try and get these
Towards
French
the end of the war.
prisoners. It was 2 days before the war ended.
Well, I mean, it was a shit show at the end.
They
at the
were
end of
all in this castle together fighting. These Germans were fighting Germans. I've never heard this story. It was fantastic. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, there's lots to know about that stuff.
Stuff that you had no idea.
No, we just, when you're growing up, and I don't blame schools to a point that you only have so much time to
But
give
still,
people information. But yeah, I know.
I get it.
There's some things I think, like I would like to see them maybe going forward touch on some other areas of things that I think get just glossed over, and I do want to move on for this, but I will finish this segment that we're talking about
Yeah.
with one other thing that I think is important that we don't know much about, and it's China. During the same era, during World War II, and shortly after, when Mao Zedong ended up coming to power, and the things that he did is another thing. I think people are just ignorant to it because they've not been taught like how terrible of the things that he did in that country. It's another one we're only ignorant. I'm not saying people are ignorant because it's not offensive. People always get offended when you say you're ignorant. No, but you don't know because you haven't learned it. Nobody told you. They don't talk about that either. That's a whole nother thing that we can incorporate all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know much. I really don't know much about China after World War II, honestly.
Well, when we're done here,
Tiananmen Square.
Just look up once. when we're done, just Google how many people died in China under Mao Zedong, and you'll just be like, "Yeah, that can't be right." You'd be like, "That can't be right."
Yeah, I never even really thought about it.
Like some of the estimates are upwards of 100 million.
Really?
Of his own people. I mean, it's high. It pales. I mean, where it blows the numbers of anything Stalin or Hitler did
really
right out of the water. I mean, he starved his own people to death because he was shipping all their food to Russia because he wanted to be in their good graces. He basically starved, 30 million plus people to death, just shipping all their grains away. And he knew he was doing it, but that's for another one. That's some crazy shit, man.
Yeah, I really don't. I never really cared that much about China, but that sounds.
Yeah, but like I mean, once you read a little bit about
that, don't get me wrong.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we know this? Like, there are so many monsters throughout history
because they were so closed off for so long.
Well, that's like I said,
for 40 years or whatever, 50 years, nobody knew what was going on there.
It's hard to get information out of there.
Nobody probably gave a shit. Like I said, I never thought about China, to be honest.
Yeah, there's again, it's just
of course.
And like you said, they're closed off, just like Russia. So it's hard to get good information.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get a little lighter here.
All right.
Let's finish this off on a little bit of a lighter note. And you know, there was a while that I quit going to live music. I just said to myself, I'm like, I'm done. I got to a
What?
certain age. I'm like, I'm just not going to go anymore because I didn't want
Oh,
to. I didn't want to deal with all the sweaty people rubbing up against you, and people just being people are people, and they're inconsiderate, and they don't know they don't know their
hmm
personal space, and they're in everybody else's shit. I'm like, I don't need this crap anymore,
yeah.
so I'm not going to go. But then get your foot off my camera. You're
Oh, I'm
jiggling
sorry.
all. Jesus Christ, you're jiggling it all over
I'm
the place.
sorry.
It's all right.
I
Problem
switched
solved.
legs here.
It's all right. Problem solved.
Thanks for calling
Um,
me out, though. I appreciate
I
that.
just saw the camera
Get your
like
fucking ass
people are
foot
gonna
off
get sick watching me on that camera.
my...
um,
Ugh. Sorry.
so I quit going for a while, but then I want to say like when we went to Route 20 to see Soulfly,
Yeah.
it was after that show. I'm like, you know what? I really need to go see more live music, and that was really cool to go to that show.
hmm
Minus the fact that I guess we're both idiots, and Christina was telling
Sure
us that
did.
Max is walking
Twice.
right by us. Like,
We're idiots. We really are. I thought about that a couple months ago. I'm like, we are stupid. We could have caught Max, got a picture with him. Just
yeah,
said, Max, we got a picture. I thought about that when I was listening to some Max on the radio. I'm like, you guys are stupid. Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, I think that was the being
Stupid.
stupid at that show was the thing that kind of catapulted me back into listening to live music and going to see shows again, which I thoroughly enjoy. I'm glad that I changed my view on that and started going back to see him. The other one was when you forced me
hmm
at gunpoint to go see Ginger with you
hmm
because I really didn't know much of them at all. But now that I do know them, I really like that band, and I was really glad that you made me go see them with you. Even though I wasn't able to rescue you when you got in the way of the notorious. What do we know? What do we know about concerts? I'll let you answer. I think you know.
Well, I'll tell you what we know about concerts. Never trust the skinny white fucker with no shirt on. You keep your eye out for the skinny white fucker with no shirt. I guess he doesn't necessarily have to be white. I'm
No, it could be
sorry.
any color.
It can be any color. I'm sorry about that.
No, but you
The
can be
skinny
honest
guy
because
with
it
no
usually
shirt.
is the white
Actually,
guy.
doesn't even have to be a skinny guy, but it normally is. But the guy wearing no shirt.
For those of you that don't know, when you go to a live show, find the shirtless guy. He is going to be a problem. Trust me. And
Keep your eye on
avoid
him.
the shirtless guy. Yeah, because that's what happened. That's when you
Well,
got plowed over. It was the shirtless guy they were chasing when you got plowed over
sure did.
by the security guard.
And Andy did not help me at all. And he was standing right behind me. 2 security guards, by the way, and the shirtless guy. But I will say I did not spill my beer. I did hold on to my beer.
Like a true beer drinker.
Yeah, and it was the skinny guy with no
It happened so
shirt.
fast.
It
I
happened
just stand
so
there all of a sudden,
fast.
like, boom, Dave's on the ground. I'm like, what the hell just happened
I'm like,
there?
hey, you're supposed to have my back. I couldn't help it. It happened so fast.
I couldn't have anybody's back. I don't know what
Yeah, the
happened.
skinny guy was running from security, and they
All
ran
night
into me.
long.
And they ran into me.
Remember what I said when Suicide Silence was playing? We went over, we were stage left.
He was
Remember
tossed.
what I said to you? I said, that
He
guy's
was
a
off to the
problem.
right. I
Yep.
saw him.
That guy's gonna be a problem.
That's what we get for moving to the middle because we couldn't. We moved to the edge of the mosh pit, so we couldn't really keep an eye on him.
No, but it really that was a fantastic sounding show. Where we were standing, I thought the sound was great. And
Yeah, we moved right to the center
Yep.
stage.
it was good, man. It was good right there. And I don't know if you remember the guy had his tablet at one point, working the sound. He was adjusting levels. That's what they do. I mean, that's why they're in the center because they
Yeah.
can get the sound just right. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
we had a great sound experience for sure.
The only bad thing about that, not about that, but we missed them. We had tickets, if you remember, when they came back in the fall, but then they canceled. And
Yeah.
then the show was in April. And of course,
I looked it up.
Yeah.
They were playing with some obscure bands I
Yeah.
never heard of.
we didn't go, obviously, but
No. I was
it was in April. And I know we met, but I was back from Germany, blah, blah, blah.
it's,
Like,
it's not that I don't like Ginger, but I've seen them and they're
Yeah.
good and they haven't come out with a new album since we saw them. So that factors in a little bit. But when we were going to go see them again, it was because they were coming with a band. One of my favorite bands, Monuments.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
those guys, I really like those guys a lot.
Right.
John Brown is a phenomenal guitar player. Um, he's got this. I was watching a video. They were building guitars in the Mayonnaise factory, which is Mayonnaise is a guitar manufacturer out of Poland. They make high end. They make like they're metal guitars, I would say, but they use woods that a lot of companies don't use, and they combine woods together. They'll roast woods, and they build these beautiful guitars. They do their research on the technology and the sounds of the woods that they make them with, and they pair the right pickups with the woods
Yeah.
so that the guitars sound, you know, sound the way they want them to sound. And John Brown plays the Mayonnaise guitars. So I'm watching this video of the factory, and you see John Brown just wandering around building
Hold on. They're
guitars.
called mayonnaise guitar.
Mayonnaise. It's like
Oh,
MANYO
mayonnaise.
um MAOYENESS or something like that.
That's literally the name of the guitar.
Mayonnaise.
Manufacturer is mayonnaise.
Yes. It's
Oh,
not mayonnaise, but
yeah.
it's mayonnaise. Yeah.
Mayonnaise.
Right. It's I probably butchered the spelling,
No.
but it's one of those guitars. I'm like, man, those things look nice. It'd be nice.
Huh.
I've looked them up. I mean, your low end is probably $3,500 on the low end of those guitars, but they're supposed to be
Huh.
very nice instruments.
How long before you get one?
I don't know if I'll ever get one. I have a hard time.
Hmm.
I play a little bit more now, but I have a hard time justifying spending money on something like that I'm just going to play once in a while.
But what if you got it and you're like,
Well, I know I'd be
you play it
thrilled.
more than, but you'd all of a sudden go, you get a chub playing it. And you're like, hey, man.
All I got to
never
do is play
fucking
some
putting this
Gojira and I get a
down.
chub playing
See?
now.
I'm never putting this down. $3,500 I'm playing it. My fingers are bleeding.
Maybe.
I'm just saying, if you did, maybe
I think that would be it. That would be probably that'd be out of ways, because if I ever buy another guitar, the first one I'll buy is I'm gonna buy a nice Les Paul.
Yeah.
I'll buy a nice, probably $3,500 Les
Yeah.
Paul, nice Les Paul standard. And then I think the next one I would buy is a nice Fender Strat. Like, those are the iconic guitars.
Yeah.
They have iconic sounds. They're great guitars. And that's what I think I'd buy that
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
And then maybe, all right, then maybe I'll dabble in something a little bit different. But again, it's hard, it's hard for me to spend money and just hang them on the wall. Although, like I said, I've been playing a little bit more, and I've been thinking about writing more, which is the thing I've always enjoyed the most about music. I love writing music. That's like the intro to the podcast. And I wrote that. I'm like, yeah, and I asked Jenny about it. I probably spent more time in here mixing the sound on that, which is a whole nother level of
Yeah.
music that I just started getting into with learning how to properly mix a sound so that the instruments all have their own space to live in. That's just a whole nother world of shit that I never even really knew about. Then I started learning some stuff about them, like, oh, so that's how you use an equalizer. You're EQing things to like give the bass its own lane, so that when you listen to a song, you can hear the bass, right? And then you mix the drums a certain way, and then you mix the guitar a certain way, and the vocals another. You're basically getting those and boosting frequencies or cutting frequencies as you need to, so that they can have their own space to live in. And when you do that, and if you do it right, that's how they all pop out in the mix. But they don't sound overpowering.
Right.
They just have their own
So
area to live in.
hold on. Let's say I'm looking at the back of my 1971 69 Axis Boulder Love, Jimi Hendrix. Who's responsible when I look at the back? Who's doing that? Is that the engineer's job? Is that what the engineer does when he mixes the
engineer? Yes, the engineer mixes yes. Typically, I think I got this right. The engineer is what mixes the sound. So the engineer is going to be behind the board.
Yep.
The guys record.
And
And
he's put, like you just said, he's bumping up the bass or whatever to get that perfect sound, that perfect mix.
Yep.
But that's the engineer's job. Like
that's what
Tommy Kramer. Like I'll bring
Yep.
up Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
Tommy Kramer, engineered blah blah blah.
And there's multiple levels of that too. So you got a sound engineer, and those guys are generally responsible for the mix. You know, your producer is going to be responsible for kind of pushing the limits. Like maybe you should use this sound a little bit, or maybe you should try playing in this key. So the producers try to steer you in a direction that they feel like you're looking for, or just to maybe push your limits.
Yeah.
To make you a little uncomfortable. And then you got the engineer, and there's probably multiple engineers involved. You might have like the bands that are real big bands
nowadays.
They might have
right?
They might have an engineer that's responsible just for recording, getting the tracks laid down, and making sure, like generally once you got your sound, you're just making sure your levels are good when your tracks are good. And then once they're all laid down and you have a good bass, you can do so much more from there. That's when you can start adding effects in. That's where you can start EQing things. And then, you basically, what the mix engineer does, you bring all your levels down to zero and you go, okay, one instrument, do I want to be the focal point? And let's say, okay, well, this is a guitar driven song.
Everything's laid down. Everything was recorded.
Yep. Everything's recorded. You take everything to zero and you start, and you bring the one thing, you're like, this is the thing I want to be the focal point. You bring that up to a level, and then you start bringing everything up to that, to where that level is, and mix it in accordingly. And as you do that, okay, so now you get kind of the levels where you are, then you start EQing things to give them their own space to live in. And it changes the sound even more. And then you hand it off to a mastering engineer, which does even some more magic after you got your mix all together. It's
there's a lot of layers.
Yeah,
that's why they said. That's why Metallica always, they'd say, "Oh, we kind of screwed Jason Newsted on Justice for All because they mixed it. You could hardly hear the bass.
Right.
They did that. They admit that they kind of fucked Jason because he was the new guy.
Yep. They were hazing him, so kind of what it sounded like.
They took the little lever and they just went down, right?
Yep. And they probably didn't EQ it properly on, to give the bass its like own space to live in or whatever.
But it literally was laid out. It was recorded. However, it was the song, just on how they mixed it.
Yep. They just take the bass and you just just dive it down in the mix.
Yep.
And the funny thing about that album though, because it's a great album.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, 90s, that was the sound though too. Like you weren't really, it's not a bass heavy kind of music. It's a guitar driven music, right? And back then bands were mixing things with a lot more treble because they just didn't understand the power of the bass that it adds to it or whatever it was. But that's how bands mixed music back then. You listen to all those 80s metal bands. It's trebly stuff, right? It was mixed differently than how you hear music recorded now. And obviously technology has changed, and people have learned, obviously, to get better at mixing these things because, and well, thank God they did, because man, I love music, and it's like the one thing in my life I can tell you, man, I love music. That's probably my number one thing. I just can't get enough of it unless it's country.
So now I like the old country. See now
hold on.
See how I've become the interviewer here and you become the interviewee?
Yeah.
So listen.
Yeah, you flipped that on me.
Yeah. So
nice job.
Why? Tell me. Getting back to why did you not go to live shows? You started out with you stopped going to live shows until.
Well, because like I said, I was tired of dealing with the crowds and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, it just wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah, but then we jumped on the skinny guy with no shirt.
Yeah, the no shirt guy. Well, I mean, it's important. People need to know about the no shirt guy.
For sure.
But then the live music, when I started doing it again, I'm like, yeah, it's good. And I think it's better now too. I think, again, it's a technology thing that has made the live shows better, not Motley Crue better, where they're just, not even playing their instruments and deceiving people and pretending that we're up there actually being a band, but they're nothing but I don't, you know what? I hope those fuckers see it too. They are nothing but a bunch of butchers. That's all they are. And shame on you if you're going to
When
see
I,
them. Stop paying money to see those guys. They aren't even playing
I
their
saw him in
instruments.
'81 open for Ozzy, and they blew Ozzy off the
Yeah,
stage
well,
that day.
they're not doing
It was
that
on
now.
the Devil. Okay, that's what you were saying.
They're not doing that
This was
now.
on the Shout at the Devil tour. They blew Ozzy off the stage. That was with Jakey Lee, and I'm like, damn.
And maybe that's why I had that animosity towards them, because, like, yeah, you guys were good. Now you're just like a shell of
Really?
what you were. You're so they're so bad and petty that they tried throwing Mick Mars under the bus.
Yeah.
And Mick Mars was like, I was the only guy who's actually playing my instrument on the stage. You know, it's like, what are you? I'm like, what are you doing? And then I think to myself, and I'm not just an average fan because I'm a musician. I look at it a little bit differently than most people. I'm like, why are you fucking paying money to see these guys? Stop it. Just stop it. And they will go away. Because what they're doing now is not good.
Come on.
Well, whatever.
All right.
I think, you know, I feel slighted as a music fan when a band just cops out the way they are. I don't like that. Like, you know, and I know that people want to get paid and
When
do what
did
they
you
do.
see him?
I didn't even see him.
Or when did you hear? When you heard?
Oh, this has been going on for a couple of years.
Come on.
My brother saw him, and
Yeah.
he saw him, and he actually said, yeah, he saw it happen. Where Tommy Lee wasn't at his drum kit,
Come
and all of a sudden
on.
the drums start playing, and you see him kind of rush over and get on his kit. I'm like, dude, really? The backing tracks? I'm like, come on.
Come on. All right. All right.
And,
all right.
and that there is multiple videos out there that they've been
That's
out
fine.
of big
I
time.
wouldn't go see Motley Crue today, but back in the day in '81, they were fantastic. They blew. I have that memory, and it will always stay with me. I wouldn't go see them today. Okay, trust me.
Yeah, well,
But
that's what I'm
back
saying.
then, right at the height of their,
Yeah,
that was an incredible show.
I saw them when they played Alpine Valley. It was that was actually a great show. Motley Crue played with Megadeth, Anthrax, Motley
Oh,
Crue.
And who?
Motley Crue. Motley Crue
It was just
headlined.
those three.
Anthrax opened. I don't think there was another opener. If I remember correctly, there might have been some other band that was.
Wow.
But Anthrax was the opener. Megadeth came on, and then Motley Crue came on, and it was great.
Yeah.
They were great. You know, they had the big stage props and all the stuff that they.
Typical
that they do.
'80s
Yep.
show. Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw them. I'm like, yeah, this is a really good show. And so it's kind of disappointing to hear that they're doing what they're doing now. I'm like,
Yeah. I mean,
because there was a time when, hey man, these guys could bring it.
yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, it's just like
I didn't hear that.
there is
so,
a
yeah,
time in
Dave
your
said
life when you
something.
have to just hang up the things that you thought you were good at. If you can't do it
Yeah.
anymore, then do something else. If you're a talented person, you will find something else to do. That's kind of how I look at it. Like, if you're a talented person, you can find something to do. You don't have to, if you suck at doing this now, then go do this because you're good at it or you can be good at it. Don't keep doing the thing you suck at or pretend.
Well, maybe
to
they're
do it.
really not good at anything else. Maybe they're just good at pretending now.
Okay. So is that the first time that's ever happened to somebody in history where, like, well, no, I just don't have anything to do. Okay. Well, I guess that's that.
I would love to have nothing to do.
See?
I would love.
Maybe you should call them out, the crew guys. Like, hey, maybe you would need nothing to do. But yeah, you got me on a. Damn you, Dave! I'm the interviewer. Yeah, but the live music thing, I'm definitely digging it again. I always look, and when I see shows coming across my email at the rave, I want to see who's coming. I want to see Tool. I gotta see Tool.
I saw him. I was so mad.
I know you were. I know. I'd like to go see them,
But
you'll come with me.
I'm starting to lose my anger at Tool, and it's been about 25 years. I am starting to lose. I think I will actually get their last couple of albums. But I will say this: the album after Einema is terrible, and I've given it plenty of opportunities to re-listen to that, and I'm like, I can't. This album is terrible. Which is the one after Einema?
I don't know.
It's
I'm
terrible.
I'm not
Lazarus.
big enough. Okay.
Well, it's not good. Sorry for all you Tool fans out there, but Lazarus blows.
Now I'm gonna listen to it and we'll be like, that blues. I'll be like, oh, I think this is a pretty good album. I don't even know
Probably.
what's on. I'm
No,
not a
you
big
know
enough
what?
Tool
I've
fan
been
to
there
know.
and I've like, I'm gonna give it another shot. I've done it like 3 times. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm a little hard. Maybe I'm still angry at Tool for the show I saw in Madison when I sprained my ankle and was arguing with my girlfriend. And Maynard was in the fucking shadows the whole time, which is
Yeah.
what he does. But at that time, I didn't know it, and I was so pissed off. But no, I've given it 3 opportunities. I'm like, I cannot listen to this. But the last couple albums, I've got to, I've got to get over my Tool anger and give them another shot.
Yeah, I do. I got the same problem with bands. I'll do the same thing. You know, when Tool first came out, the first record was Undertow. Was
Yeah.
it Undertow was the name of the record, right?
Yeah,
Sober was one of their hits.
great album.
What was the other hit that was on there?
Prison Sex.
Yep. Those are the two biggest hits.
Yeah,
I had that album and I was like, yeah, these guys are pretty good. And then the next album came out and I'm like, I kind of just got away from. I wasn't
I
digging
loved
them.
when Opiate came out. That EP, fantastic.
Yeah, wasn't digging them. Like Dave, the guy that played bass with us, he's a big Tool fan.
Yeah,
And I just wasn't into him at all for a long time. And
yeah, I
then,
dug him. I really did.
yeah, a couple of
All
years
the way
ago,
through Inema.
I think is when I finally lost my arrogance towards music. Maybe
You
a
still
little
got
bit,
it a little bit.
maybe.
A
I'm
little bit.
working. I work on it.
Yeah, no.
I'm working on
yeah.
it. I start to listen to things again, and I just fresh ears. I'm like, oh man, there's all of a sudden I started listening to a couple Tool songs. I'm like, I dig this one.
Yeah,
I dig this one. This one's good too. I'm like, these guys are pretty fucking good.
they are.
So then
They
I
really
started
are.
listening to them more, and I like them a lot more than I did back then.
They're really good. They really are. Just Lazarus is terrible, in my experience. But I'm over it.
Well, if I get famous on this podcast,
Yeah.
then I'll send an email to Maynard and tell him, hey, when we come to see you, don't play anything off of Lazarus, please.
And maybe just come out of the shadows once.
You want it all. You don't just want. You can't just have
Just one song.
All right. Yeah,
But
I
he
definitely
won't,
want to go
so
see
he
those
won't,
guys
but-
though. I'd like to go see them. Like what you were kind of saying earlier before we started doing this, like seeing the old guys like Saxon and
Dinosaur
Europe.
guys.
Yep. I started thinking of it that way. I'm like, the bands that I like, I want to go see them now before they get old.
Yeah.
And a good example of like not seeing a band, I'm a big 12-Foot Ninja fan,
Right.
and they're broke up now.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been able to see them before they were gone, because that happens a lot with bands.
Yeah.
See, they break up. It's like, so if you see them coming around, I'm like, you go see them,
Well,
because you may not ever get to
That's
see 'em.
right. I mean, look, now you're talking about Tool, for instance.
Yeah.
They got to be closing in on in their late
Oh,
50s
yeah.
or 60 by now. So that, I mean, you make a good point. You're like, listen, like I was telling you, I saw Sax, even Uriah Heep, but Sax, one guy left, he's 78. The rest of the guys are young. What are you going to see Tool when it's just Maynard at 80?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's different.
Well,
You want to see most of the guys.
we can tie another band into this, right? I was just talking about them. Do you want to see them when they're at their best or at their worst?
Oh,
Motley Crue.
oh,
You know, again, if you saw them, like you said,
yes,
back in the 80s,
yes.
your memories are
No,
great.
no, right.
Now, if you're a young person, you saw them last year, you saw Jukebox playing. And maybe you don't care, but if you don't, fuck you.
Yeah.
You should care.
Yeah. No, agreed.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it too. I'm like,
At least my 78, 80-year-olds are really out there busting their ass, still rocking and sweating. I can't believe.
see, it makes it even worse.
I'm talking about stuff like Rob Halford from Judas Priest.
Just turn into a Motley Crue bash fest.
Again, like Biff from Saxon, and Mick Box from fucking Uriah Heep, 78. He's up there. He looks like he's 60, and he was just fucking shredding.
Mhm.
I'm like, fuck you, Mick Box. You are a god.
Good for him, man.
Whew.
That's somebody that knows his craft.
Unbelievable. Uriah Heep still rocking. Yeah.
I'll have to learn how to do the tagging thing and tag them in that stuff.
Tagging.
Yeah, well, it's a social
Okay,
media thing.
cool. Okay.
You gotta learn. Yeah, I'm terrible at it too.
All right. I don't even know what you're talking
Glenn
about, but
Barth he tagged Kiss in something. They were playing Kissopoly.
shut up.
He did. I'm not kidding you.
He tagged Kiss.
He on I think it was on Twitter, which is now X,
Yeah.
and Kiss actually reposted or retweeted his picture of his family playing Kissopoly. I'm like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool, man. You tagged them, and they're like, oh, and they saw it, and they actually retweeted it.
Oh,
Hey,
bullshit.
I got to tell you something. Because I told Jenny I was proud of this too. So Born of Osiris has got a new album coming out, and they put a song out there, and I saw it. I'm like, okay, so I download it, I listen to it. I'm like, man, this fucking song is a jam. I like it. And all of a sudden, I follow him on Facebook, and I see Born of Osiris's Facebook posts. How's everybody digging the new song? And everybody comments, obviously. And I was one of the people that commented. I said, it's a jam. And all of a sudden, maybe a couple weeks goes by, and I see somebody gave me a heart like, which means they love my comment. And it's this guy Ronnie something. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy that's loving my comment? Oh, it's the lead singer of Born of Osiris. He saw my post. He saw my comment. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna love this guy's comment. I'm like, so I was telling Jenny, yeah, they saw it.
Oh my
I know it's
God.
kind of stupid and petty, but at the same time, it's kind of cool. I'm like, oh well, they actually saw it,
It is. I mean, yeah.
And it's a jam. It's a good song, man. I'm like, I heard him like, it's like right up my alley. But they're the kind of band. I'm kind of into. Well, I like pretty much everything across the board when it comes to music. A lot of metal, obviously, but I'm a big Rush fan.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like Yes a lot, and Rush. Yes is prog rock, obviously.
Yeah.
And Rush, I just read Getty's book, and not that I didn't know that they were big fans of prog rock,
Yeah, yeah.
but they were big fans of Jethro Tull, Genesis, Yes,
They all
obviously.
came out of the same.
Yep, and
They all were right there at the same time.
And Rush was with those guys. Rush came on a little bit after. They were
Little bit,
fans
but
before they were
Yeah,
peers.
a little bit, sure.
Yep. So I'm kind of into that same kind of music. I like the progressive stuff, even if it's progressive metal. It's not for everybody, and I know why people don't like a lot of that stuff, because it's not really easy to follow along sometimes, which is probably a reason I really like Gojira, or Meshuggah's another example when it comes to metal. It can be hard to follow along. Like, it's almost like you have to work at listening to it. And people might think like, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to work at listening to music? I don't know. I just dig it, man. It's just, to my ears, I'm like, oh, and it's probably because I play an instrument.
Yeah.
And so I understand. I don't really care for bands like Godsmack, because I'm like, dude, that's just like, you want me to learn their entire catalog? Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. I know them all. It's easy music, right?
Sure.
Doesn't mean it doesn't sound good. It's just like,
so
I just don't,
I get it.
I'm like, yeah, I dig the stuff that seems like it's probably kind of hard to do what they're doing. I can appreciate that a little bit more. So I kind of gravitate towards that. That's what Born of Osiris is kind of. They're kind of a progressive. I don't even know what you'd call them. Progressive deathcore.
Huh.
It's.
You know what's going through my mind right now?
No.
I'll tell you, because you mentioned Godsmack, and all that's going through my head right now is Straight Out of Line. Ever since you said Godsmack, that's what's playing in my head right now. Thank you, asshole. I have to go to the bathroom.
Take a dump. Oh. Well, on that note, I'll talk right in the microphone. I'm gonna go to the bathroom too. What were we talking about?
I say
music. I know we were talking about music.
I said that all I had out of was Straight Out of Line. Was what I was singing. And then I said I had to.
Then I was peeing. I was thinking like, all right, so I'm gonna cut this off here. I'm gonna finish it up with something good. Now I'm trying to think of what the hell was I trying to finish this up with.
Dude, you think about what you finish up, but I'm telling you that we have to learn a song together where I'm playing some rhythm just so you can put me on tape so I can say I'm on tape.
Hey, dude, that's easy. Like, what do you want to do? A cover song? Or do you want to like do something original?
Doesn't matter. I just want to be able to play 3 easy chords
Okay.
and you solo over it, and we put it on, and then I say, I've recorded.
So you want to play an AC/DC song?
Oh, that would be easy.
3 chords.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, 3 chords. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
No, one of these days, I'm not kidding. One of these days, I know we talk about it all the time, but
yeah.
we should
Well, let's
because,
do it. I'm down. I love doing that stuff. I mean,
yeah,
that's really, I'm all about it, man.
yeah, no, we should. I'm tapping all over.
It's all right. Tap it up.
Yeah, no, we should.
Okay. No problem.
Good
You gonna bring
freaking
your
day.
guitar? Or you want to
Yeah,
play one of mine?
no, I'll bring mine.
Okay.
I got to break it out and just get the fingers roughed up a little bit and
We'll just
start
plug
practice some
plug
stuff.
in direct. I do everything direct. I don't
Yeah.
have it. I don't own an amp
I
anymore.
don't know what that means, but
That's well.
right to your computer.
So that's what I own as far as that's my guitar amplifier. That pedal, that Line 6 Helix.
All right.
That I sold all my amps. I sold them all. I have none because I don't play anywhere. So
I mean, when it goes to your computer, I don't understand.
So this is all right. So if you look over there, see the thing that's got the red thing that's got the flashing bars on it that's going right now?
Yeah.
Because we're talking into the microphones.
Yes.
So these microphones are plugged into that. That's a Focusrite. It's called an interface.
Okay.
Okay. So the microphones plug into that, and then that plugs into the computer via USB. And then if you look over there,
Yes.
on the left screen, that's my recording program. So I have 2 tracks armed, and we're both talking, and you can see it's recording.
Yes.
And I have a bunch of effects that I put on there, just for whatever purposes. You know, I got EQs and I got a de-reverber, so it's not too echoey and stuff. So that's my recording program, and I can record, I don't know, like hundreds of tracks. I can record as many tracks as I want on that thing. So the foot pedal, the Helix, I plug my guitar into there like you normally would, straight into an amp or into your pedal board, into an amp or whatever.
Hold on. So you put that on the ground, you put that down on the thing, and you hit whatever button you want with your foot.
Well, it actually connects to the computer, and I can actually do it on the computer too, and I can change the effects on there too.
But I mean, you can, right? You can put
Yeah.
that flat down on the
Yep.
floor, and you can play. You can hit the A button if you wanted to. You can
Yep.
hit your pedal.
Yep.
Right.
So, yep, all that. And that
Oh.
pedal, I can program it to be just a wah pedal, or I can program it to be a whammy pedal, or whatever I want it to be.
You're really good with that shit, aren't you?
It's and this is like, this stuff is like changed the game. So that's called a modeling effects pedal, or a modeling effects, whatever you want to call it. So I plug this into my interface, and then I record into my computer. But built into this, they have all these different, so I can use all these different amp heads. I can use an old Marshall
Shut up.
JCM 800,
You can make it sound like whatever, right?
any amp I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, old Fender Tweeds.
Yeah.
It's just loaded with amplifiers, and then along with that, it's loaded with speaker cabinets that go along with it, and you mix and
Shut
match
up.
those. And then even taking it another level, what's better than the speaker cabinets are what they call IRs. They're impulse responses. Those are basically recordings of these old amp cabinets, and you plug these IR in there, and they emulate the sound of the cabinet that's coming out of there. And so all that shit that I just said, the end result is I plug it directly into my computer, it records, and it sounds like I put a microphone in front of the amp. And if you do it right, if you got your settings right on there, and you have the right effects in the right pass in the right places and stuff like that, you can't tell a difference. And if people want to argue with me about it, go record your amp, go buy your JCM 800 and buy whatever cabinet you want with your Celestion speakers in there. Go record it with whatever microphone you want. Bring it over here, and then I will make it sound the same off of that thing, and I guarantee you I can do it. That's how good the technology is. So
That's mental.
And the nice thing about it is, like, so I don't have to worry about room reverb and shit like that, because it just goes right in.
Okay, so what sounds the best when you're putting it through your amp? The Marshalls?
I actually use I used a dual rectifier for my Metallica patch because Metallica used those a lot. I used the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier with a 90s dual rectifier slant cab
I don't know
IR
what the rectifiers are.
dual rectifier.
I know what
Mesa
Mesa
Boogie dual
Boogie is.
Mesa Boogie dual rectifier is like that's like Marshall. So you got your Marshalls, you got your Mesa Boogies, and then when I think you probably in the 90s, the PV 5150 heads, Eddie Van Halen was playing those for a while, but then he came out with his own EVH model. Those are like iconic high gain tube amplifiers.
Okay.
And there's other ones out there too. I mean, and nowadays there's even more. I think Metallica uses the rev generators. That's one like I've dabbled in that. That's in there too. I can use that one. But and they got their own sound. They got their own nuances. And this thing has got all the settings. You can dial it in. So, but for my Metallica sound, I use the Mesa Boogie. And then the Gojira one, which I was just texting you about. For Gojira, I use the EVH or the PV 5150 head. It's a little bit different gain sound, but when I play, so if I play, and I got Gojira going and I play along with it, that's what my guitar sounds like. It sounds like Gojira. It's got that same distortion sound. That's the cool thing about it, which is why I don't own an amp because I don't play out live.
Yeah.
And the other beauty of this thing, if I do say I got in a band, all I got to do is plug this thing into the house sound. I don't need an amplifier.
Really?
That's all I need. And it sounds like I'm playing
That's
out of an
crazy.
amplifier. It is crazy. I think that technology is awesome. And there's purists out there. There's guys that are like, nope, I'm using an amp no matter what. I want to play through an amp because I just think some guys say it's a feel thing. Some guys say it's a sound thing. To me, for what I do, I'm like, I don't know. That thing sounds pretty fucking sweet to me, man. I'm like, I'm good.
See,
and like
I'm still thinking I'm still thinking you need a stack of Marshalls, man.
Nobody's needed that for a long time. That's what Rush was doing. Like Geddy Lee got rid of all his cabinets. Because he just played direct.
Yeah.
He might have had his head plugged direct into the PA. He got rid of his stuff. He had like rotisserie chickens going in his thing. He had washing machines for a while because he didn't need a stack of amplifiers. So he just put other props out there instead, which was pretty cool. And that was in his book too. I'm reading that and like that's a great book, man.
I have to get that one. I don't have.
Well, you can borrow it. You want to borrow it? I'll borrow it to you.
Because I do enjoy. I haven't read the Geddy. I've read other guys like KK Downing, and I've got a few. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But
one of the things I like about his book in general, in particular, I should say, kind of towards the beginning, he outright. I mean, he's Jewish. His parents are actually Holocaust survivors. They were both in a concentration camp.
Oh yeah,
and they survived, and they got out of there, and they ended
Canada.
up over here. Yep, Nova Scotia or Halifax, which is in Nova Scotia. Yep, and that's how and then so he does a whole chapter on the history of his family and the concentration camps, and he went over there and visited them. So I thought that was really cool. That's just something that
I didn't know that.
Most people wouldn't know that, but well, now that I read the book, now I do.
Yeah, I had no idea, honestly. Yeah. I just assumed he was just regular Canadian kid. I had no idea his folks were Holocaust survivors.
His birth name?
Yeah, I'd like to read that, I think, when you're
Gershon Eliezer.
Yeah, I remember you telling me his name, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool story how he got his name, because his grandma would call him, well, they changed his name to Gary. He was Gary.
Did you get Gary out of Gershon and Gary?
When they emigrated over here, they changed people's names. That's what they do, or Canadianized in his instance. That's what they do. So he was Gary. It's kind of funny too. He's Gary Weinrib or Gary Lorne. I know he was like, this is confusing. I don't know. He was even saying like, so what is my last name kind of thing. But anyways, he's Gary Weinrib, I believe is what it was. And his grandma would call him Gary, but because she had a heavy Polish accent, it'd be Geddy. Hey, Geddy.
Getty.
Getty. So then his
Yeah, yeah.
buddies at school is like, hey, how come your grandma calls you Gary
Yeah.
or Getty?
Getty.
So then it stuck, and then he just well, I guess
That's
I'm
funny
Getty
as
now.
hell,
And
honestly.
then his middle name was Lee, so that's
Yeah.
that's his stage name.
Getty,
Yep.
come here.
Exactly.
It's
Pretty
funny
good,
as
huh?
shit.
Yep.
Getty.
So
That makes perfect sense now.
yeah.
Getty. That's funny.
So I think this is a good place to just finish it up and be done. And like we got a lot to talk about. So see, this wasn't so bad, was it?
It wasn't so bad.
See? Well, next time you come over, you'll be even a little bit more loose. And we'll talk about all the history, the Native American, the German history, all that stuff.
It wasn't so bad. It
No,
was literally
it's
me
not
and you
so
talking,
bad.
just like we're sitting in the bar.
Exactly.
talking.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're
Not a big
right.
deal.
But once you get past the first coming in and looking at all your big impressive setup with your lights,
Yeah,
and your
my
cameras, your
Amazon
mic,
$20
all
lights.
your shit. It's like then it was just me and you. We're just talking this like we normally do.
Well, that's
Just
the
talking
thing.
about bullshit. And,
Yeah. And
well,
hopefully
not
people like
bullshit,
it.
but we talk about whatever we talk about. So.
Exactly. And people kind of dig that stuff, it seems like nowadays. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I mean, we'll see. People want to watch it.
Well,
Kind of how I always leave it. Like, hey, if you like watching what you're watching, keep watching it. If you didn't like it, suck a dick. I don't care. Right? So, on that note, well, bye. Bean soupy makes me poopy.